We need to remember that this is a process, fans. This is a process. I would like to know a raise of hands of people who thought that this Bears team was going to have a winning record above 500. Me, I predicted 11-6. I've said it way too much. They've already lost 4 games. I'm still hopeful that they could get 11-6. I mean, there is anything's possible, not probable. But how many people actually thought this team was going to have an above 500 record? If you didn't raise your hand, like I just did, then you should not have any qualms about what's happening right now. I understand that there's some open reads that Justin Fields missed, but he's getting hammered out there. He's a nail in a board, and there's a hammer just constantly hitting him. Bang, 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 bang. This kid is showing the resiliency to get through it. Look at all the hits he took, and he still got up. Yeah, he laid on the ground and scared everyone a few times, but he got up, and he had that long run towards the end of the game, took us all the way down. Yes, we should have won that game. Yes, we got to the goal line 3 times in a row in that game. Yes, I know we all want to light our hair on fire. But this is a process, fans, and patience is a virtue. So, I understand long for a quarterback. I've longed for a quarterback as long as all of you have. But we have the quarterback. I promise you, we have the quarterback. We just need to preach the patience to ourselves. And I'm going to make all you guys feel better about this game. I'm going to do my damnedest. So let's get to it, kitty.
Bears country. Where is it? It's in your man cave. Your home. Your car. Your local bar. Your city. State. It's across the world. It's in your heart. And it's here. The Bears Country Podcast.
Welcome to Bears Country Podcast. After 12-7 loss to the Commanders last week, thank God it didn't happen yesterday. Gave us a little bit of time to all regather ourselves, kind of just think about this game before we all overreact. And I know a lot of people overreacted. I don't know how many people in chat here overreacted. I know that even I overreacted. I know that my guest here, Dan, overreacted, which, by the way, my name is also Dan Shortino. We are here on Barham Network with Dan Aguire, and we do have Cliff Victoria coming up with his Cliff Notes in just a moment. But to finish my rant, this team is building on something no matter what you want to say about it. The entire national media, the local media, everyone had this team in the tanks. Well, we have games. So is it possible that we don't win anymore? Yes. Is it possible that we win 7 more? Absolutely. we every game is different. We can't all sit here and poo-poo. I know we love to overreact as fans, but the motto of this episode is that patience is a virtue. And Dan, I'm hoping that I'm going to help you with some of that.
I need some help. It was a tough defeat, to say the least. It was the worst that I thought the Giants game was bad, but this one was so much worse. To see after the game Charles Leno Jr. tearing up Bears and Washington like bragging about it. So it turns out it's the Charles Leno revenge game. He came into Soldier Field with his suit jacket and had the disparaging the GSH inside of it. All of these things, man, that it's just like, fuck that guy, man. Fuck him. For years, he's got, that woman married him and he proposed on Soldier Field. That girl wouldn't have said yes to him had he not been a starting left tackle for the Chicago Bears. So he owed his wife, his money, everything to the Bears. And for him to act like that, man, I just wish somebody would whip his ass. Like just, like the guy that claimed he was beaten up in Chicago. He's got the fine ass sister. What's his name? He got convicted for lying and staging his own hate crime. If you know what I'm talking. Do you know what I'm talking about? Jesse Smollett or something like that. Yeah, I wish something. I fuck it. I'll be the asshole and say something like that needs to happen to Leno. Just beat his ass, man. Fuck you, Charles Leno. But yeah, it was a terrible game. And I said after the game I was going to quit defending the Bears. If everyone says, they're going to lose every other game, I'm not fighting the argument. Okay, maybe they will. I kind of still feel that way. It was an embarrassing loss when you've got Smith Morset in and getting tripped by Braxton Jones, and it looked like a 1980s Folly tape.
Yeah,
everything went wrong. Coaching, playing. Go ahead. Velus Jones. Got him.
Dropping another punt return. What in the hell? He lost us 2 games. I mean,
and like I said to Aldo after the game, name me one other player that has single-handedly lost 2 games in their first 3 appearances in the National Football League. I don't think it's ever happened.
I don't think it has either. I heard you say that with Dan afterwards and the little program you did after the game, kind of unannounced. And yeah, it's when's the last time that has happened? That I can't think of anything like that in my recent memory of someone losing 2 out of 3 games or whatever. Why, Dan? Why are they not playing him at wide receiver?
I don't know. They're supposedly reevaluating every player. At least that's the narrative that's been put out during this mini bye. And if that's the case, then on Monday night, 1 week from today, we should see Lucas Patrick at center. No doubt in my mind. God,
please. Let's see what he does at center, please. Why were they rotating Schofield with Jenkins and not with Patrick? That's see, this to me has, I know it's so hard because we finally have this generational talent at quarterback that we haven't seen ever, likes of a quarterback on the Chicago Bears. And we see the talent, we see the skill set, and he's just getting hammered by his offensive line. Yet they're taking out one of their best offensive linemen and rotating him in with one of their worst offensive linemen for the preseason that they cut and re-signed. Why aren't they doing that for the other side?
I think at the time Jenkins was I didn't know it in real time, but I think in hindsight Jenkins was banged up for a few minutes. It was an injury substitution. I believe when Schofield came in late in the first half, I think Jenkins had his proverbial bell rung.
Okay. Well, I would hope that's the reason why, because, I mean, Jenkins is one of our best offensive linemen, period. And if they need to be rotating anyone around, not due to injury, it should be Patrick, because he's just played like shit at the left guard.
Yeah, I sent you that thing, and I want to give attribution to Aaron Mikulski, who sent it to me initially. With the statistics, that video with David Kaplan, Braxton Jones, 20 pressures given up, the second among tackles in the NFL. Lucas Patrick, 16 pressures given up, second amongst guards in the National Football League. And suffice to say, Sam Mustipher, the most pressures given up by any center. And you think, oh, this sounds bad, it gets even worse because Justin Fields has been pressured 46% of his dropbacks in the first 6 games, which is the most ever in the history of the National Football League since that stat has been kept 16 years ago.
Of course it is. It's the Bears. All these new stats, I mean, they all have to. Everyone gets their moment against the Bears. What is say that again about the right guard position that you just said. What was that stat again?
What you mean with Lucas Patrick?
Yeah, because he's only played 2 games at right guard and he has that shitty of stats.
Well, it was just it doesn't designate between left and right. It just said amongst guards, period. In the NFL, Lucas Patrick has given up 16 pressures, which is the second most in the NFL. Braxton Jones has given up 20, which is the second most amongst tackles. And then you've got Mustipher who's given up the most for any center in the NFL.
I mean, but Jones is still, he's a rookie. I mean, that should be expected to have given up that much, but he's still improving as he's going. I know I see the things that I like in him, the long arms. He's good at run blocking. Greg Gabriel said some really good things about him on the Barham Network earlier today, which, by the way, Thomas Jones was supposed to be our guest tonight, and I didn't want to bombard him with questions, but I had a couple of them for him, and I want to thank you, Aldo, for at least giving the one statement that I had to him, because there wasn't very many things that were said to Thomas Jones. So I want to thank you, Aldo, and your question was awesome too, Dan. But to the point of that, I lost my train of thought because of that. But I was talking about
you were talking about that Greg Gabriel was praising Braxton Jones earlier.
Braxton Jones, yes. So he's good at run blocking. He's had his moments at pass blocking, but he has the tools to work with. So I see why they're sticking with him rather than putting in a Riley Reef, because essentially if we're going to lose games like this, it's going to come down to a rebuilding year, and we have got to make sure that we at least play those players. How many rookies are playing? 14, I think.
I mean, I have a question for you, though, an important question to anyone listening. You have, this is an opinion leading to my question. My opinion being, if you're Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles, say what you want about how the team was assembled. That's not the point. But with the 52 guys you have, you owe it to them to play the best players, because even if you think they're going to lose, my God, you're paying them to perform. So we want to win. You can't be tanking. So Even if you're trying to develop Braxton Jones, if he's giving up so many, it just seems to me, this is my opinion, at least to my question, it seems to me that they're playing him because they don't want to play Riley Reef, and they don't want to pay him because so many of his escalators leading to the $10 million that he was given are performance-based or depend on playing time. So it feels like, we're developing Braxton Jones, we're getting our quarterback killed, but it's because we actually don't want to pay Riley Reef. But my question is, don't you think that as Bears, shouldn't they play who's going to perform the best for this season to protect Justin Fields next Monday, not 2023? You gotta protect him now, right?
Yeah. You can't continue to have him get hammered like a nail, like I said. Because David Carr was he was a good prospect coming out of college, and he got destroyed by being sacked. There's a number of quarterbacks that were destroyed by being sacked. Even Peyton Manning himself destroyed by sacks in his first season in the NFL. He had some of the worst stats of any quarterback for a rookie. Comparatively to Justin Fields, they were better, but Justin Fields is just getting hammered out there.
I think Ryan Poles is calling us.
Is that is that Ryan Poles calling us? Sorry, that's in the background here. But I lost my train of thought because of that. What was I talking about? Jesus Christ.
Maybe Thomas Jones has decided he is going to join us tonight, and he's calling.
Oh, that was Thomas Jones. Okay. We got him on the phone here.
Yeah, he was supposed to be on the show, but he obviously you saw it. If anybody else was like, well, what was up with that? He had to reschedule. He's a busy guy. He's an actor, and he needed to do the interview during the morning time. So therefore, Greg, who was obviously more than capable to hit the interview out of the park. I watched it while I was shaving and brushing my teeth and all that kind of shit. It's a good interview. But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I watched it too, and I was actually glad that Aldo and Greg got to interview him because it was a better interview, probably. I mean, they would have interviewed him better than we would have. It was a lot more professional than I would think that we would have interviewed him, at least myself. So
I'm sure we would have done fine.
Probably. But this game is, I think this is a game that we can, listen, we got down into the red zone, the goal line 3 times in this game. So why can't we take the positives from that? Yes, we didn't score, but we fucking should have. And I think those are the positives that we should be taking from this game. There is progress being made. Things don't happen overnight. This is another thing I thought about. There was like this run on rookie quarterbacks that just came to the league and they were lighting the league on fire, right? And everyone just got on this bandwagon of these rookie quarterbacks, just started lighting the league on fire. And we're like, well, where's mine? Where's mine? And then the next team drafts one and they get theirs. Even Josh Allen had some down times and now he's a stud. He was like the 10th pick in the draft. But just because we're not having this immediate blow up of quarterback from Justin Fields doesn't mean that the kid isn't going to be great. I mean, there's plenty of quarterbacks that sat on the bench for 1 or 2 years. In fact, Mahomes was one of them that have succeeded and done well. And Aaron Rodgers is a very good example of that. So you have to take into account Justin Fields is learning a new offense. He's with a brand new staff. He has to relearn everything, all the plays within the plays. There's all these plays within the plays. We heard Coach T talk about this on Dan and Aldo a couple of weeks ago when you were out, that, there's 6 different plays for every single one passing play. And if to defend it, 6 different ways to defend every one single passing play. So when you think about that as a quarterback, there are so many different ways that you have to train your eye to learn this or that based on this or that. And the kid has the skills to do it. It's just a matter of relearning this new offense, new coaching staff, and then he'll eventually start to build upon himself, and he'll get better and better and better. I really, truly do believe that. I think that we all need to not light our hair on fire over this 12-7 miserable loss.
Well, it's too late for that. But one thing I really want to add, at the beginning of the season, Eberflus said he would play the best 5 with regards to the offensive line. This combination is not the best 5 right now. We do not have to see every practice. We do not have to be members of the Chicago Bears fucking coaching staff. It's not just us. We can watch all the shitty shows on NFL Network or ESPN or Sirius, wherever you want to reference. They'll tell you statistically right now, Justin Fields cannot survive this season with these 5 guys. They have to change something. I don't care if it's like, well, we don't really care about wins this year, which again is bullshit to all 52 men in the locker room. Because if you're a rookie this year and you made the team and maybe you're not going to have a 10-year career, they say the average player gets 3.5 years in the league. Then this is your time to play. Like, this could be your only chance. Right. So for every man that's in there, this is their dream. So how can you look at that man in the eye and say, well, we just want to play Braxton Jones because this year doesn't matter? And fuck that. If Braxton's one of the best 5, then play him. And I wish him well. I want him to do well. But I know Sam Mustipher isn't. I know that. When they take the field next Monday night, New England, they have to have a different scenario in that line, or they're just they deserve like a fucking January 6th style attack at Hallis Hall, if they try to bring these same 5 guys out after what, George McCaskey was in the stands against Washington. I don't know if you saw that clip. He was sitting in the 400 level, incognito, just discreetly in the stands. He has to hear the boos. He has to see Fields scraping himself off of the field. You've got to protect him. I don't care if you think you're making the playoffs or not. That's your guy. That's the guy it's going to do. I digress, man. You've got to protect the kid is what I'm saying.
I am 100% with you on that. I mean, he's just being turned into a bowling ball, or a bowling pin, I should say. He's on his ass every single play, whether he completes the pass or not. At some point, he's on his ass.
Or on his stomach. He was on his stomach a lot against Washington, like having to do push-ups to get up,
Mm-hmm. And now there's
very slow push-ups, too, because he was so fucking hurt.
And now there's this talk about a shoulder injury. You saw him like in the game doing the whole. His left shoulder was bugging him.
Yeah,
I know. This is the piece that we all know that we need to succeed. And watching him just get murdered out there it's a travesty. It's hard to watch. But they have to get this figured out. You're right, on the offensive line. Coming this next game, it has to happen.
It really does. I mean, even if you get blown out, which God forbid that happens against New England, but even if you lose, like Detroit did, because I saw apparently Don and Aldo have something going back and forth right now in the chat room. So even if we lose as badly as the Detroit Lions, Don Burr's team or whatever did, like 29-0 or whatever it was, it's like, at least let Justin come out of the game feeling better physically, like protect the guy,
Kitty, you're pulling up Don Burr's stuff? Now he's Don Burr Sr. He's creative.
He's kind of like Steve Smith when he killed Peanut Tillman in the 2005 playoff game. He was just Steve Smith, but at some point he was Steve Smith Sr. By the time he got to the Ravens. Yeah. That's
true. Yeah. At that point, we were like, who the hell is this guy kicking our ass? Then he became Steve Smith Sr.
Right.
Well, we have Cliff Victoria that's been waiting in the wings to join us. He's been out with Hurricane Ian for a couple of weeks now, and we'll get his story here. Kitty, do you have the opener for Cliff pegged? Because we forgot to talk about that. I hope you do, at least. She probably doesn't. But if you don't, you can just bring Cliff up. You got it. Cliff, we missed you, buddy. How you doing, man?
I am happy to be back and talking football. The last 3 weeks have been all hurricane, so it's wonderful to be back with my friends talking Bears again.
Did you miss any games, Cliff, because of the weather?
I did not have high-speed internet until 2 days ago, and yesterday it was coming and going. So there's no way to really watch them on a hotspot. It doesn't work.
Yeah. So you missed, I guess, Washington's game and Minnesota's then, right?
I've tried to catch up on some of the clips. Minnesota, I just saw a couple of clips. I tried to get some knowledge on what happened against Washington. So I did see some of it. I'll probably watch the entire game if I have time tomorrow. But I was swamped at work today and, talking to insurance companies, just so much to do.
Well, I'm glad you're okay, man. I hope your family and everyone recovers from this devastation.
Thanks, Dad. Yeah, my family's all okay. If you want to know what Hurricane Ian was like, imagine being in a tornado for 8 hours. I mean, literally the wind was sideways, carrying huge, roofs and signs and anything you can imagine was blowing sideways for 8 hours.
Wow. I know we have this home that we inherited from Kitty's mother, and we came down to it, and luckily we didn't have any damage, but we saw the damage around here. I mean, you're lucky to be sitting in your house right now. I get that. That's great.
Well, I could have left. My wife works for one of the airlines, and they were getting their planes out of there, so they offered to fly employees out, but they wouldn't take my German Shepherd. So it came down to a choice of leaving the German Shepherd or staying with him, and he's part of the family.
Oh, good call. Yeah, there's no way I'm leaving my dogs behind anywhere.
So,
That's
but
why.
it worked out for the best. I mean, everything's okay. We got to get to my mom's early the next day to check on her. She's in senior housing. They've got 5 3-story buildings here in town. And we got down there, and, you've got all seniors. A lot of them are disabled. They had no power. Their units were flooding. So, we showed up there and we saw they needed water, they needed food, they needed help getting items up and down 3 flights of stairs because there's no elevators. So I not to get religious, but I feel God put me in that spot. So I was there for a week, helping out over there. My son was going to the distribution centers, and he let them know what we were doing. So they were loading our cars up with items. So we were bringing MREs and water and boxes of fruit. And, FEMA and the police showed up about the 5th or 6th day, and they took over. So then I could go get to work on my own house.
Wow, Cliff, that's awesome. So you were helping people out. That's
well, like I said, I think I was put in that spot, just because they needed help.
Oh man, what a good guy, Cliff. Good for you, man. I'm sure everyone appreciates you for helping them out. I mean, it was rough down there. I know. We've been talking.
It's still a war zone down here. I mean, they've got the street lights working again, but the lights that light the streets are still all lying down in a row. Trees are down all over the place. 1 out of about every 4 or 5 roofs is torn off. Some houses totally destroyed. I mean, you guys probably saw more of the videos than I did, because I had, no electric for a week, and
right.
But it's a situation that I do not want to repeat. Put it that way. I still love Florida. I don't want to move out of Florida, but I'll be very happy if we don't get anything like that for a long time.
It was such a weird hurricane too, how it just took a right at Albuquerque and just went up your guys' way. That was just so weird. The pattern of it was strange.
I've talked to a lot of people since then, and they say anytime a hurricane is supposed to hit Tampa, watch out. Because Tampa never gets hit. It swings into us. So if you want to move to Florida and not get hit by a hurricane, Tampa's probably a good spot to go.
So you were able to still get your Cliff Notes ready for this game. I was,
yes.
And for tonight's show.
I was thinking that since we're sort of on a mini bye now, and we've got 1/3 of the season in the books, rather than go back over the Washington game, which is already 4 days in the past. So, people have seen a lot of information on it. I thought, why don't we break down the team a little bit and let's see where we're at. You guys were already doing a bit of that in the first half hour. Maybe we could give the guys pass or fail grades, some of them. And, maybe the chat wants to join in with mention a player's name and then mention pass or fail as we go through the list.
That works. Let's pull it up.
All right,
so Cliff Notes, Bears versus Commanders, grading the Bears after week 6.
There we go. So, all right, of course, we got to talk about Justin Fields first. As you mentioned, he's the most important player on the team. He's the guy we all need to succeed. But how good is he? All right, Dan Aguire, go. How good is he?
Are we talking about just giving him grades, like an A, B, C, D?
I'd say let's do pass fail now. If you want to do letters, that's fine. But I was just thinking it might be easier just do pass fail.
He's definitely passed. I don't think that he's been exceptional. He's not going to the Pro Bowl, even though there's not really a Pro Bowl anymore. It's just like, that's just too in touch. But anyway, I think I'll just say pass then. But if I was going to give him a grade, it'd be like a C- or something. But it's enough to pass.
I'm going to say pass. I'm going to say pass too. I mean, I know there's some plays he's missed out there. I just think it's a part of the learning process. And getting into, like we said, the plays within the plays that you have to just learn through time. It just takes repetition, and he's doing well with what he has to work with. And I know he's not perfect. I know he's actually not even one of the better players in the league statistically, but some categories he is. So pass for me. He just needs some time to develop.
Okay, you guys aren't going to like this, but to be contrary, I'm going to give him a fail, and I'll explain why.
Oh, please do.
Okay, Justin's playing like a rookie. We all know he is. He's playing in his second offense in 2 years, which is never easy for an experienced quarterback, much less a rookie. But part of the fail is he's not trusting his wide receivers. I've been watching some of the all 22 today, and Kurt Warner had a good breakdown on it where he was showing various times that he says, this is NFL open, and the receiver is just going to make his break. He says, throw the ball now, and Fields is holding the ball. So he's waiting for the receiver to break, get a little open, and then try to throw it, and that's adding another second to his time in the pocket, which is adding to his woes. I think the offensive line is definitely partly to blame, but Justin needs to step up his game too and just trust himself, trust his receivers, and hopefully the receivers are good enough that he can trust them. If you watch the all 22, they do seem to be open for periods of time. So I'm just giving him a fail because he's playing like a rookie, and I'm saying at this point he's a failure, but that's not to say he won't be passing in the near future.
I will add to this by saying I do see that he is holding on to the ball too long, and the fact that it seems like the play, you can see that he's not throwing the receiver open. So when he sees the receiver is about to be open, it seems like he already realized he missed his window, and then he holds on to it and he moves on from it. He needs to have already thrown the ball to get the guy open and, throw him open. For example, Dan, we talked about this last week, the pass interference call that wasn't against, what was it, Dante Pettis in the end zone?
Oh, my God. At the very least, that's illegal contact.
Right. And that ball is something that he should have just thrown the ball. No, it wasn't Dante Pettis. It was Darnell Mooney. Sorry. Darnell Mooney made that beautiful move, and then he got open in the end zone. And
you're talking about the one against Minnesota then with Harrison Smith, right?
Sorry, yes, Harrison Smith. That's what I'm thinking
Well, Pettis
yes.
had the one against Washington that should have been called on 3rd and goal at the end of the game. Like, there's no way that's not. I mean, he's all over him. I don't even know the defender's name. But so there's two right there that if Justin Fields is anybody else with more name recognition, his receivers get the flag there.
Yeah, but one play on the Mooney play that we're talking about, if he just would have thrown the ball a second earlier, Mooney would have been open, and Harrison Smith wouldn't have been there to block up that play.
Mooney catches it. I don't want to sound too negative, but Mooney had a chance to win the game Thursday night. All he's got to do is not bobble the ball. You can make your big, the play with one-handed over his head, this amazing Odell Beckham-esque kind of catch, or a Lynn Swan, if we're going to go back farther than that. But make the easy catch at the goal line, man. If you don't bobble the ball, we're sitting here saying, guys, we're 3-3, and Justin Fields is overcoming all this adversity and still has us at 500. It's a completely different feeling. And the Minnesota game, arguably, we should have won. The Bears could easily be 4-2 here. They could have beaten the Giants.
They should have.
They could be 5-1. I mean, it's like we sit here and say all these could have been. It doesn't matter. You are what you are. Parcells famously said that 30 years ago, and it's true. But still, Fields, to me, and I'm not discrediting Cliff's opinion. I'm just saying that despite the fact Fields has been a little uneven and such, we can point to things he's doing wrong. He still had us in games with this horrible offensive line, with wide receivers that aren't, I mean, we didn't pay any money. We've seen that $4.4 million for the entire room. All these things we can point to that's going wrong, and he still has had us in position to win almost every game, including the Green Bay game, because if he scores, which he did, and of course he didn't, wink, wink, if he scores there, we're in the game again. We're literally in every game. And even though it's been frustrating and we're 2-4, I mean, if you told me going into the year we're 2-4, but we're in every game and Fields is still technically healthy, I would say, all right, I'll take that.
And I'll throw out the failure, fail grade was just because, just to add a little bit of devil's advocate to it. Sure. I do see a lot of things with him. He's great with his legs. He does make good decisions when he gets out of the pocket. He's got a QB rating of about 120 in the past game when he's out of the pocket compared to 60 when he's in the pocket. So when he gets on the move, I mean, he makes good plays. Unfortunately, you can't leave the pocket every single play. So, all right.
His pocket's breaking down around him, though.
Correct. And let's move on to that. Let's move on to the O-line, the studs and the duds. So, and I would say an easy pass would be Tevin Jenkins, and I don't know why he's not getting more playing time. Why do you guys think we're seeing the musical chairs with the players instead of the top 5 being in there every play?
I think at first they were trying to get Lucas Patrick. This is just my opinion. I'm obviously I can't confirm this, but I think at first it was Patrick was hurt in July and didn't have any camp. So early on, they were just trying to get him into quote unquote football shape. That is my theory to why they were rotating early on. And like Dan and I said before, I think I saw a report on Twitter that said that Jenkins was hurt momentarily in the second quarter, which brought in Schofield, and eventually he returned. So I think it was out of necessity on Thursday night. But before that, I think it was to try to get Patrick in shape to be ready whenever they ultimately make the move to center, if they do.
Now,
I think that's I'm just agreeing with you, Dan. I think that's what they were originally doing. I don't know what has been with the other, unless it was injury, like you said. I mean, but the duds definitely, the studs would be Jenkins for me, and the duds would be Patrick at right guard. It hasn't been fun to watch at all.
And I think that's a problem, is that Lucas hasn't been looking that good when he's at the guard position. I'm hoping that he's much better at the center position, because we all know that one of the duds is Mustipher. He needs to be off the field.
Yeah, I agree. Wholeheartedly. And it's not personal. I have no reason to not like him. It's just every time I see him, and I'm a nobody. So if I can sit in my living room or on my phone, as it was on Thursday, and see that you're giving up pressures like every time that there's a play, I mean, everybody else is seeing it too. You're the weak link, dude. I'm sorry. He's got to go to the bench. I mean, in fact, I don't know if Lucas Patrick hadn't gotten injured in July, if Mustipher even makes the team. Like, that's how poor he's played.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. I like what J2K just the question that J2K just brought up. Can you pull that back up, Kitty? Patrick has never played well at guard, but who do we replace him with if he moves to center? I want to know why they haven't put Ja'Tyre Carter at guard yet. Why?
I don't know. You also have the element of Alex Leatherwood as well, if they want to try him at guard. I don't know. I mean,
right.
I'm sorry. I don't care at this point. I mean, it could be one of us at left guard. It can't play any worse than Mustipher,
Also Schofield, he's still out there
right
in the wings.
Mm-hmm.
So they do have options for that, until Cody Whitehair comes back. Their tackles, the tackles were not doing their job in this past game. So I don't know about pass fail on the tackles so far. What do you guys think?
No, I'm failing. I like Braxton Jones. I hope he'll be a good player. I'm rooting for him, but the 20 pressures being second most in the NFL, he's failing. And I don't have those statistics for Larry Borum, but I don't see Borum playing much better either. So I'm going to say fail for the tackles. I'm going to say fail for every position on the line. And again, Tevin Jenkins has been, from my bum eye, just a guy that's just sitting in, doesn't know what he's talking about, just a fan. It looks like Jenkins has been our best lineman so far. So I'm going to give Tevin a pass and everybody else a fail.
Well, what is the fan eye seeing, everyone? The fan eye is seeing a hammer just pounding Justin Fields' head into the fucking turf. That's what they're seeing. So something is wrong with the offensive line.
Right, I agree.
It has to be fixed. And
Now,
I know what you're saying, Dan, about the left tackle. The 20 pressures. At some point, I mean, I know they don't want to probably destroy the kid's confidence by pulling him up, but at some point, if it keeps up, you just have to move on and go, listen, we can't get our quarterback killed. We can't.
Now, Swifty made a good point in one of his videos today. He mentioned that Cincinnati has the same situation as the Bears. Burrow's getting killed, and Cincinnati spent a lot of money on improving their offensive line this year. So would it have been better for the Bears to throw money at the position, or does the offensive line need to work together, or do the coaches need to figure out a better rotation?
I think it's a little bit of all the above. Personally, I think you want to give this offensive line some time together at least and see what they have. You owe that to them as the group that you made the starting offensive line, right? But at some point, if it's not working, you're going to have to try to kind of mix it up a little bit. And I don't know if that's what they're trying to do with if Schofield came in not because of an injury, if Dan's incorrect. But even before that, Natcher coming in at right guard, it just didn't make sense. Just unless you're just trying to give them the reps. But I don't know. At some point, this has to get fixed. It has to.
You can't play favoritism,
right?
With we want this guy to be good, so we got to keep playing him because it's at the cost of your quarterback. It's at the cost of your best player, keeping him healthy. So you can't just say, well, we want Braxton to play better. We want Mustafa to play better. You've got to put people in there that have earned the opportunity, or that at least there's got to be a change, and a change for change's sake at this point. There has to be. You can't look at Justin Fields and be like, this is our best five. This is what we got. We've got 11 more games to go, and this is what we got. I mean, you were not going to keep him healthy for 11 more games with this five right here.
We can't injure this kid.
Right.
It can't happen.
Now, to say something nice about the offensive line, they are doing very well at run blocking. So how can run blocking is easier, but how can they be good at that and bad at pass blocking? This offensive line coach needs to improve that aspect of the game.
And it doesn't matter. It's like we had the famed, what was the guy's name that they brought in first under Nagy that was like at Notre Dame? He had been with the Bears when Lovey was there.
Harry Highstand.
Yeah. So and he didn't do anything. And no. It seemed that he failed. Then we brought in the guy from the Eagles organization, and then he failed. It's like, it doesn't matter what we do. Like, it's like it feels like we haven't had a good offensive line since we went to the Super Bowl.
Well, like you're saying,
which was Harry Highstand.
Exactly.
Like you're saying, Dan, Tevin Jenkins is the Bears, one success, and he was a second-round pick who was supposed to be a first-round pick.
And a guy we were trying to trade, or allegedly.
Yeah, I don't believe that still. But let's see the Bears spend a little more high draft picks on the line in the next couple of years. So, okay.
And then we'll listen to all the fans bitch about how they drafted an offensive lineman with the first pick.
No, I won. It's just that we've got to get it right, because you can't draft Chris Williams, and no disrespect to him, but he was the first pick in 2008, and he's got a bad back, and he's hurt, and Jenkins has a bad back, and it's like every time we draft somebody early, they fucking suck. Going back to Stan Thomas, we've got to get a lineman in there that's a stud, man, and Ryan Pauls is supposed to be some offensive line guru, but when I hear that, I'm like, why didn't we hear about his playing career? I mean, fuck, I played offensive line too, but it doesn't mean that I was like good enough to be a GM. Was he a shitty offensive lineman?
Even when
I don't know.
Even when we drafted, what's his name? Kyle Long. He was supposed to be great, and he was pretty good, but
he was good. Yes,
he got hurt in Tampa and was never the same again. I mean, he got a devastating injury.
He was like that one hope at, first string, or I should say, first round draft pick offensive lineman that we had in a while that we thought would succeed. And
he got hurt though. I mean, everything was going well when he was the starting right guard. Then they moved him to left tackle a week before the season started. Instead of giving him training camp and trying to assimilate him properly, the Bears, of course, do what the Bears do and moved him like right before week 1. We've got 6 days to get Kyle ready, which made no fucking sense. He gets hurt and he never is able to come back from that. But don't forget, at one point after Jay was gone, there was like a season where Kyle Long was like the quote unquote face of the franchise, which is, he really was. I mean,
he was,
because he had nobody else. I mean, Alshon was gone and Forte was gone and Cutler was gone and Brandon Marshall was gone. It was just like Kyle Long was the most of the Bears players had the most notoriety.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to your Cliff Note number 3, Cliff.
Okay, on to the running backs. This is an easy one. We like our running backs. I'm going to give them both a pass, and even Ebner, I haven't seen that much from him yet, but we'll throw him on the pass side too. Now, the question for you guys is, who's number 1 in 2023?
Well, right now, you'd have to say it's going to be Herbert because they haven't re-signed Montgomery, which is a travesty. But I would give both of those gentlemen passing grades. By far, they're A's. At the very least, they're B pluses. But Ebner, whom I like so much in the preseason, I would say he has failed. Ebner's not looked good at all.
I would say Ebner has failed. Herbert and Montgomery have passed. I don't see them re-signing Montgomery. So I would think that the next running back in 2023 would probably start off being Herbert, with the second back being someone that they drafted. That's my guess.
You're probably right, and I hate to hear that because I think David Montgomery it gives us everything he's got. He's got heart. He's got power.
Love him.
I think he should be re-signed, but I believe you're right. He'll probably be allowed to walk, and he'll go to Minnesota or Green Bay, and we'll fucking hate him.
I said when Thomas Jones was on with Aldo this morning on the Greg Gabriel show, I just put my comment in there. My comment to Thomas Jones was that I thanked him for being, for giving everything that he had to the Chicago Bears. And I told him that he was one of my top 4 favorite running backs of all time for the Bears. And David Montgomery is up there with him. I think Thomas Jones is my 3rd, but Montgomery is probably my 4th. So
who are you going with second?
Forte.
Oh, I didn't know if you were just saying like Sayers, even though we didn't get to see him play. If you're only talking about people we've seen.
Yeah, I'm going in my lifetime.
Well, definitely Walter. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Is at the top.
Nobody beats out Sayers and Walter for older people.
Yeah, right. But for my top 4 favorite of all, I don't include Sayers in that just because I never saw him play and his career was shortened, although he still made the Hall of Fame. But for the eyes that I've watched with, it starts with Peyton and goes from there.
I don't know if I'd put Forte second, but maybe I don't know. I loved at the time. I loved Neil Anderson, but I didn't realize how much he. I did like Raymond Harris too, but just Neil Anderson didn't train in the off season, which is just maddening. Like especially when every year he's hurting his hamstring.
That was the first jersey I ever bought, Dan, was a Neil Anderson. I'm right there with you. It was a real jersey. It had the pads and everything. It was an expensive jersey. I bought it as like however old I was. I
And
loved that thing.
if you
I
go
love
back
Neil Anderson.
if you go back and read quotes, he and Walter did not get along either. Like Walter didn't want anything to do with him being like the guy that was going to be a successor. And then Neil didn't give him respect for being Walter Payton either. So it was just like they had a contentious back and forth for the 2 years they were together. I thought Muster was really good, but if he could stay healthy as a fullback. I loved Anthony Thomas. Love Thomas Jones. I'm going to put Thomas Jones second. I think Thomas Jones was better than Matt Forte. I'm going to say Walter and then Thomas Jones for sure.
Wow. Awesome. He's third. He's third for me, but I mean, I see the argument to that.
Thomas Jones was running over 8-man fronts in 2005. Matt Forte was more of a get him out and on a wheel route or just a screen pass and he can take it to the house, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But Matt Forte's not breaking anybody's tackles. Thomas Jones is bursting through the line with 8 people up front. And it's a travesty that after the Super Bowl, what we thought we could do to get better was to trade him for nothing to the Jets.
The Bears had other needs besides running back. They had Thomas Jones. He was a good running back. And then they draft what's his name? Dan?
Cedric Benson, which
Cedric
is what
Benson.
That was my largest takeaway from the Gabriel thing today was that I didn't know, or maybe I did and I forgot. I don't think I knew that Lovey was the main backer of Cedric Benson. That's a huge mark on Lovey between that, and forcing Ron Rivera out and putting his buddy in, Babich is the linebacker coach. Lovey did a lot to undo all the good things he was doing in Chicago, which is so unfortunate.
Sure. All right.
And,
anyways, go ahead, Shorty.
No, just to say that, Rex and Dan, I'm there with you with Rex Grossman. When they did them, I turned to my girlfriend at the time and I said, "This kid is going to take us to the Super Bowl. I promise you." And then he got injured. Then they got injured, and then that draft comes along, and they had Aaron Rodgers, who was supposed to be the first pick in the draft, falls to number 4. It's like, well, why not take a quarterback here when we don't know what we have in this quarterback, and we know what we had? Thomas Jones is the 7th pick in the first round, a couple of years before that.
In front of Urlacher.
And this kid, I was very excited with that signing of Thomas Jones. Then they draft Cedric Benson. I'm like, what the? That was the one mistake that entire franchise made, that regime made, was they fucked up on the quarterback. If they would have just taken Aaron Rodgers there could be 2-3 Super Bowls under our belts, their belts, I should say, with that defense that they had. I mean,
every time we draft a running back, it's like they could have drafted Randy Moss in 98, but they took Curtis Enos. And again, Curtis could have been a good player. He got hurt. Like a devastating knee injury in his rookie year. We'll never know.
But he finished the game. I remember he finished the game with a blown knee, and he was kneeling on his knee, on the sideline between plays on a blown knee, and then he goes out there and played. He earned my respect for that.
For sure.
But
I'm just saying, but we'll never know how good he could have been had that. Because in 99, he came back and he played the whole year, but his knee just wasn't he just wasn't there. And in 2000, they tried to move him to fullback. And it's just after that, he's gone. He's out of the league. The guy's working night security somewhere now. I saw a story on him a year ago. I mean, it's so unfortunate that he's just a regular dude now,
I think it's safe to say that the Bears have had a long line of good running backs, although some of them never developed the way we would have liked them to. I really like Montgomery. I hope they end up giving him the money because I think he's a fantastic running back, and I think the combination of him and Herbert is something special. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But I agree.
Go ahead, Cliff. Sorry.
I was going to say I agree with you on definitely on the passes for the 2, and Ebner we'll just have to see. Give him a little more time.
I just want to say before you moved off the position that one guy we should also acknowledge who was in the building, but kind of Greg Olsen, we just maybe he doesn't fit in what we're trying to do. So go ahead, Jordan Howard, just leave. You're setting rookie rushing records for us for most yards as a rookie, and you can run over people and be a bowling ball. But We just gave up on him too fucking soon, in my opinion. I know he's not selling anywhere, but I thought Jordan Howard was solid, man.
I love Jordan Howard, man. If he just kept going, he could have had if you give him the guy hadn't had it less than 1,000 yards and you gave up on him. What the fuck? He should have been at least a 1-2 punch.
Yep,
yeah, I felt that way back in the day with Anthony Thomas and Thomas Jones. Like, why move on from the A train who had done some good stuff for you, and he's a different style of back? When Thomas has to have a breather, why not bring in the A train? I mean, a 1-2 punch, and that's kind of what they have now with Montgomery and Khalil. So I hope they keep it together. But yeah, Jordan Howard, like, there's no reason to get rid of him, like, in my opinion. But that was the bald fuck's decision, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Onto a controversial area, the wide receivers. Now, do we have a WR1 right now? Is Mooney a WR1?
I don't think so, but he had a tremendous catch against Minnesota. I think, yes, I remember Walt Harris. Definitely remember Walt Harris. I was talking about Walt Harris yesterday. Sorry, I was reading the chat, so right there. But that's true. Walt Harris was brought up at my house yesterday. But to answer your question about Mooney, it's hard to judge him on one play, but a wide receiver one catches that on the goal line against Washington, and we win the game.
Oh, Dan, my answer was I didn't quite know until you reminded me of that, because I think about that one-handed catch, and that's a wide receiver one to me. But the wide receiver one is just a little bit bigger build, right? And he gets that catch on the touchdown, on the goal line, like you said. So I guess I'm going to have to painstakingly say probably not.
Here's a question for you. If that was N'Keal Harry, who is much larger than Mooney, who caught that ball, does he get into the end zone?
I would think so. And Aldo's not on the air right now. And he obviously could be right. And Aldo knows all of his shit. So I'm not criticizing Aldo. He told me that, I forget exactly what he said. I read it that he was a healthy scratch on Thursday, but Aldo said that wasn't true. But I read that on Twitter, which doesn't mean that Aldo's wrong. But if for some reason he is and Harry was a healthy scratch, that really bothers me. But you know he's going to play against New England, his former team, and hopefully can have a revenge game next Monday night. But I think a big person like Harry gets into the end zone there for sure.
This is like the story of the Bears. You know, you're expecting. We think, we traded for this first-round talent from the Patriots. The Patriots of all teams. This kid's going to be the guy that's going to change our team. He's going to be the difference maker that we need. Maybe he can be the number one. And then we sit here and wonder why he's not on the field yet. And we all have to sit back and just realize, I mean, they just got the dude right towards the end of training camp, and then he hurts himself, or I should say he gets hurt. Then he's out from then until just last week or a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. And we can't expect him to just come right back in the game. There's still a learning process he has to go through with the offense still, I'm sure, in practice rep. So you can't just assume he's going to get on the field right. If he was on the team for the last 3 years, yes, or a couple of years or whatever, but he's so new to the system. I think him coming back is causing this delay in him actually getting on the field. On the other hand, that could be something to do with Velus Jones too, which is why I've been wondering why the hell he hasn't been on the field, but that's a different story. But the N'Keal Harry thing, I just think that's the reason why he won the game there on that goal line situation. I think and hopefully by next week with another, basically a bye week in itself, going into the Monday night game against the Patriots, he's healthy enough to actually, and we've talked about this before, right, Dan? Like that revenge game that we never get.
Right. Hopefully we get that Monday. I mean, even Charles
probably
Leno,
not.
Like I said, Charles Leno had a revenge game against us, and it just
fucking left tackle had a revenge game against us.
Charles Leno should have been respectful and said, the Bears are the reason I'm in Washington. They believed in me. I was a 7th round pick, and I love my time there. End of quote. But for him to talk shit, I mean, man, fuck you. But I hope Harry plays next week. If I were writing a script against Washington, I would have loved to have seen Jones or Smith Marset catch the game winner just to have that redemption over their mistakes. But moving on forward, I've got to tell Pettis, dude, the only reason you're still on the team is you seem to be really good at punt returns, and this other kid that we drafted isn't. So you're going back to punt returner. So that leads to the next question. Is Velus Jones going to still be the kick returner, or do you put Ebner back there again?
I would hope that he remains a kick returner, but please get him the fuck out of punt returns.
I would put Pettis there. And Pettis is dropping balls at wide receiver, but never seems to drop them at punt. Knock on wood. At punt returner, he seems to always do pretty well. So I would put him back in the punt return position.
It's a fucking travesty that they didn't re-sign Jakeem Grant from last year. I mean, that kid was an electric fireball.
He's hurt. Didn't he tear his Achilles or something in camp? So I think I'm glad we didn't pay him, and then he would get hurt like he did in Cleveland.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Maybe he doesn't get hurt if he's on the Bears.
Well, yeah, hopefully so. But yeah,
or he does because he's on the Bears.
You traded a 6th round pick for him for half a season, but he was electric,
Right. The Bears still need a kick returner, punt returner. Jumping ahead to that area of topic. Hey, I do have a question for you guys though. Why do they keep throwing the ball to Smith Marset in critical situations? He drops the ball often.
He ate us up in a game last season with the Vikings. It's like we've seen him play well. I don't know. I can't answer. He's shown that he can.
Because I'll tell you why. Because he's a fucking double agent. That's why.
I don't really believe that.
he caught a beautiful ball on an awesome drive to finish off the game, to win the game against the Vikings, and he said, "Here you go, guys. This is you. Thanks for having me on your team. You get the win. Game over." I'm joking, but what the fuck, man?
I was listening to a little bit of the Washington game on the radio, and a couple of times they throw the ball to Smith Marset. I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? Stop doing that. Pick another receiver.
Well, the one time that I remember him getting the ball, Braxton Jones ran into him like I said, it was like a 1980s football folly. Remember those VHS tapes, the follies that they would put out? It was literally a football folly. At that moment, let me give a shout out to a guy that always reacts to me on Facebook. I want to get his name right. He was so pissed off. Jay Bonds. Jay Bonds was like, "This is a fucking clown show." He was so pissed off at that exact minute, and I was too. Just like, God damn, man! It looked like that they had no coaching, no preparation. Like, who are these guys? They're falling down over each other. It was an embarrassment. It truly was.
All right, now one last question here for the wide receivers. Equanimous or Pringle?
Wait, hold on a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Are we on to the wide receivers yet?
We're on wide receivers still.
But we're just wrapping up running backs, though, right?
Well, we were talking about Mooney. We
we flipped over to wide receiver.
Okay. Go on.
If you have a great running back comment, I'm sure nobody would mind if you stuck it in.
No, I know. I just lost. Go ahead.
So okay, all right. Equanimous or Pringle? Which one you guys grading higher so far this year?
Well, Pringle's been hurt, so it's hard to say. But there have been numerous times on the if we're being critical of Justin, the guy that's always open that he doesn't throw the ball to is St. Brown. I can't say that St. Brown's always open, but when he is open, Justin, you seems to not see him. So I would say Equanimous, if I had to, has played better than Pringle, but Pringle's been hurt too, so it's not fair to him. But St. Brown hasn't. Again, especially the money he's getting paid, he's not been a bad signing, and he does allegedly know the offense so well. So I don't know. I think Equanimous, if Fields is thrown into balls as many times as he's missed him, like he's got some better statistics that we'd be praising here.
I think that EQ just knows those plays within the plays I've kind of been talking about for a while now. He's familiar with those coming from the Green Bay kind of style that Getsy has been implementing. And, there's been some things we've talked about in the beginning of the season where he's changed the route, the hot route, mid route, and, this happens. No, I'm going to go deep. And then Fields missed it. And I think it's just it's a learning curve that kind of has to do with the both of them getting on the same page, coming from an offense that EQ is familiar with. And I think that, 8 games in, 9 games in, 10 games in, we'll start to see some of that chemistry being built between the two of them.
If Green Bay runs so many slants, specifically against us, why don't we implement some of that? I mean, again, our guy supposedly from the Packers, a slant route is so easy. It's 1, 2, 3, boom, gone. The ball's out, and you got a wide receiver that gets 5, 6, 7, 8 yards, and we don't even try that.
I know. I thought that Velus Jones was that option for us.
That's a very good question. Now, Velus and Pringle, both incompletes for the two of them then?
Right now, Velus is a fail. I mean, 3, but it's only been 3 games. But I've seen enough of him to see it's been a fail thus far. Pringle, again, he's just been hurt, so it's hard to give him any subjective grade.
Velus, I'll say a fail. Pringle, I'll say a fail. Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving on.
Wait, hold on. Before we get into
Pettis has been a fail as well, but go ahead. Sorry.
Well, he's come through here and there, but before we get into cliff note number 6, let's take a pause for this.
This Thursday, it's game day at the Barroom Network. At 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, it's a special Buffon 55, a pregame show of the Bears and Commanders. You'll get John's passion for the Bears along with an expert covering the Commanders. And then at halftime, it's Bear football. John, Danny Shimon, and Tyler Ellis break down the Bears' performance. That's this Thursday on the Barroom Network, the bearer of Bears news.
That was an obsolete promo.
Well, welcome back to BCP. It looks like Shorty took a moment off here. So, Dan,
sir,
let's start the tight end talk here. Is Kmet the future? What do you think about his performance so far?
I've been a critic of Kmet in his first 2 years. I don't think that any of this is his fault. I mean, there are numerous times where you're like, all right, we'll go to him like 2 plays early and he'll catch the ball and get a first down. And then there's not even a throw to him the rest of the game. So I'm going to give Kmet the benefit of the doubt, and I've never done that. And I like the guy. He grew up a Bears fan, so I want him to succeed. And I thought he was not very good his first 2 years, but the Bears are letting him down right now, and it's not his fault. They're just not targeting him. Maybe that's Fields' problem, but you heard that they had so much chemistry in the offseason working out together, but maybe it's the offense too. Like maybe Getsy's got to draw up some plays for him. I'm going to give Kmet the benefit of the doubt and say that he's done enough to pass, even though statistically it doesn't look like he's doing much. I just think it's the Bears doing him a disservice, honestly.
I agree with you 100%. Another point is, Shorty's back. Another point is that the Bears may be using him, keeping him in to block rather than getting him out in as many routes as he should be going on. But it seems like they start him off at the beginning of the game with some plays scripted for him, and then they forget about him.
My overall impersonation of your Kmet we're talking about, I assume. Sorry, I had to pee. But he's not. I thought he was going to be a lot better than this, and he's just not standing out. He's not getting himself open. I think he's lacking that level of the hips that you need in that tight end position. That I don't know. I thought he was going to be better. I thought this would be the breakout year. I thought this was going to be the Mooney Kmet year, and it would be the Batman and Robin and whatever duo you want to add to that. You want to call him Catwoman?
I don't think it's Komet's fault, though. I really, like, in the goal line situation, when we had Greg Olson, a lot of times we would split him out almost as a wide receiver and run a fade route with him. Why don't we do some shit like that with Komet and get a disadvantage, like someone on him that's smaller than him, and try to put him in that proverbial box out position? I just feel like the Bears aren't running enough plays for him, in my opinion.
Even if you look at that play, the interception that Justin Fields threw when he just threw the ball right into the guy's helmet, that play, when you look at it from the other angle, the behind zone angle, it almost looked like he wasn't going to get open enough anyway, and the ball still would have been intercepted.
That's an arguable point.
That I saw.
Well, that's an arguable point. Like I said, I'm not Komet's agent here or anything. I feel like we get him 2 balls early, and they're like, okay, well, that's it, Cole. You're no more targets the rest of the game.
All right.
Agreed.
Here goes the question real quick. I don't mean to take your segment, Cliff.
No worries.
There are people that I've been seeing. I didn't watch the shows nationally, but I've seen the clips retweeted. There are people saying that the tight end was at fault on Fields' miss in the end zone, that he was running too slowly and that his hips weren't turned the right way, and that he was supposed to be in the spot where Fields threw the ball Thursday night. I don't know how to interpret that because I'm not a quote unquote expert, but to me, that's on Fields you got to see where the guy is. I mean, that's a throw any of us could make, right? He's wide open and it's 2 yards away. Well, what do you think?
He was like so wide open. It reminded me of the Dante Pettis wide open pass in the San Francisco game that I was worried that it was so wide open that it was almost going to not be completed. Right. The guy would just flat out drop the ball, or he would overthrow it or something, because you see that, you're like, oh, it's so perfect. What do I do with this? Oh, don't fuck it up. Oh, I fucked it up. It's almost like that's one of those things that happened on that play.
I actually watched that play, and Fields' arm. All right, when you throw a dart, sometimes you don't follow through. Fields' arm stops. It doesn't follow through. So he's aiming the ball. He's not throwing the ball.
So you think that was on Fields too, right?
Yes, definitely.
I thought so too. I
agree.
Even he said he had to make that throw.
I agree. He should have seen, regardless of where he should have been, he should have seen where he was and been able to just flick that right to him. It was it was too easy. That was what it was. So what are we on to? The fullbacks?
You have to wait. Okay, we're finishing off the offense here with the fullbacks, or as I like to call them, the invisible fullbacks on the Bears. Where are the fullbacks? What are they doing? I had high hopes for the fullbacks when we started this season, but I don't see them doing any great plays the way that San Francisco fullbacks or some of the other teams' fullbacks do.
I've been preaching for the fullback dive. Where's the fake running back handoff fullback dive on the fucking goal line that the Packers game? Where was it in this past game? 3 goal line stances we had. Just give the fucking fullback the ball. Fake it to the running back and then hand it to the fullback. Nobody sees it. It's a trick-looking play. It works well when you run it correctly. Why not? The guy's built like a brick shithouse. Give him the fucking ball on the goal line. Just give it a shot.
Now, did you guys see Sunday Night Football where Hurts on his quarterback sneaks? They get everybody all close together. He gets up there, grabs the ball, uses his strong legs, and 2 people stand behind him and push him. Yep. I've never seen... It's been a long time since I've seen a play like that, and it worked every time.
They designed it with a motion for the guy to come in motion and then stop right at the snap and then go push him right in the back. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful.
Yeah, get the fullback in there doing that, if nothing else. Push your quarterback.
Everyone was shitting all over Jalen Hurts, just like they are Justin Fields in his first 2 years in his career. And now look what's happening with him. They're fucking undefeated. They're the only undefeated team in the league. So they're doing something right with that kid. They're working around his talents. They're making the kid better. God, why can't that just happen to us?
It may.
When?
Next year, maybe. next year, the year after. Justin Fields is in his first year in this offense, and you can tell that watching the all 22 and the video clips, you can tell that he's not comfortable with it yet. So let's give him time.
Patience
is
a virtue.
Yeah. Are you there, Dan?
Dan, not me, Dan.
The other Dan, Dan Aguire.
Are you there? Are you there, Dan?
I'm back. I left a note in the chat that I was going to piss. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I apologize. I'm back. What was the question? I just sat back down. I'm sorry.
Oh, we were talking.
That.
We were talking about fullbacks and how Philadelphia, Justin Hurts grabs the ball and two people push him from behind to get the first downs or get across the goal line. And why can't the Bears do something similar and have their fullback push Justin forward?
Well, how do you say that guy's name again that we have? Blazin? What's it? How do you say it?
Blasingame.
Blasingame.
Yeah.
When he's been in there, I've liked him myself. I think we could go a little bit more I formation and utilize him more. I don't, like you said, the Philly comparison. I don't know if he's that good, but man, I like him. He looks okay to me. I would give him a passing grade, even though they haven't utilized him. It's like the Bears don't know how to use what we have, or we don't utilize people to their strengths. Like every position.
When we get to the coaching segment, that's a very good point to bring up.
Touche.
All right, now we're on to defense.
Yeah, you guys ready to move on to defense? Did you want to bring in? Oh, okay. All right. Let's start with the defensive line. Who stays next year? Who goes? Okay, let's start with that. Who do you guys?
Who stays?
Like? Yeah, who do you like?
Who stays next year? Who goes? For me, on defense, I'm going to say Quinn goes. Quinn's gone. I'm going to say that I don't think they're going to re-sign Roquan Smith. It's just a feeling I have. It's nothing I have negative to say about Roquan Smith. I don't dislike him at all. I think he's doing a fine job. I just have a feeling that they're not going to re-sign him. They might trade him or do a sign and trade or something like that, or just let him walk. I just don't see it happening. I see Quinn is gone.
All right, how about
defensive
pack or El Kadeen Muhammad? Why is Travis? Go ahead.
I think Muhammad will be here because of the contract, but to Travis Gibson, that point, he's shown some signs this year of flashes, but hasn't been consistent. I don't know. He's coming up on that'll be his fourth year next year, right? So they might just let him play it out.
Yeah, I think
the defensive tackle position is the one I'm thinking is the most going to be cleared out.
I like Watts. We haven't seen him enough. The dude from Minnesota that we got that's wearing Akeem's jersey. I like him. The times he's been in there, he seems to, again, maybe someone else can point out some film that I haven't watched or something, but the few times he's been in there, I like his size and ability to stop the run. I think Dominique Robinson has shown some flashes as a rookie. He's going to be back, obviously. I don't know about Watts because they just got him in September, but I'd like to see him back. And Gibson, again, he's one of our draft picks, so I think he'll be back. I, like you, Dan, feel like that Roquan has overstayed his welcome, so to speak. That's not to say that I don't want him back, because I do, but I think – but they have all that money, too, as we've heard. So maybe they do work a deal out. But if I had to – you put a gun to my head right now on October 17th, 2022, I think maybe Roquan's gone. Although Roquan, of course, is a linebacker. We're talking D-line. Yeah, I think Robert Quinn is – to be 6 games in without – does he have a sack? I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I've missed
the last couple of games.
Roquan has a sack, yeah.
Well, I meant Robert Quinn. I'm sorry.
Oh, Robert Quinn has a sack. Yes.
Yeah, but he's just been the invisible man this season. He's been extremely disappointing considering how much he talked about the 4-3 was his strength, his forte, and that he liked being a defensive end versus a linebacker. Then where have you been? So I think Quinn's gone, but I like Watts, and like I said, there Gibson and Dominique. So
I like Watts too. I think if you put a big pig next to him at the nose position, and let him, get that free range at the 3 technique, I think you put like a Ted Washington next to him, or a Vince Wilfork or something like that. You that's what that defensive line is missing, is that 350-pound fucking pig at the defensive tackle position. And if they can find someone, whether it's free agency or the draft, they can plug in there, that's going to help that Watts kid for sure. That kid has some potential.
What about Blackson? He's another one that could be gone, I think. Angelo?
Probably. Yeah, I think based on contract, I think he's probably gone too. I mean, everything resets every year.
I haven't seen anything from Muhammad at all.
No.
I'd be playing Gibson over Muhammad right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, what about Justin Jones? Justin Jones, what do you guys think?
Well, you just signed him. I think he's going to be here at least 2-3 years, but he's at least had a couple of splash plays. So, I mean, again, it's too early to say if he was a bad signing. He's been okay, I think, but I think he's back next year for sure.
Yeah, I think Jones has been okay too. I think he will definitely be back because of his contract. So,
I've got one question in my notes here. Who do you guys think the Bears are going to go after? What position with the first-round pick? How about if we got a 3 technique, somebody like Georgia's Jalen Carter? What would that do for this defensive line?
I mean, you have to talk about what the number of the pick is. You're
probably talking top 10 to grab him.
Yeah, I mean, if they continue on this path that they're on, I think that the first pick in the draft will definitely be a technique if they have it there. If not, it'll be a wide receiver,
or hopefully a lineman on the offense,
or an offensive lineman of some sort.
I think Whitehair's probably gone after this year. I think he gets cut, in my opinion. And so you definitely need a left guard, but maybe you don't go left guard in the first round, or maybe even a right guard for that matter. But maybe they go for a tackle, in the first round. That's certainly plausible, because you can't tell me if a stud like left tackle, like a Tony Baselli type that where it just looks like he's a franchise tackle, and if he's there, you can't say, well, Braxton Jones was picked in the 5th round, so we're not going to. I mean, if you can get an improvement, a vast improvement, you got to take it.
Mm-hmm. It all depends on. Yeah,
it's going to be a really interesting pick,
and how the board falls too. So,
but I think you have to play to win right now, though. You can't worry about the draft next year. Like, I hope that they're not doing that, like trying to tank games and shit and happy with losses. That's not the franchise. I know George McCaskey isn't thinking that way. No. He wants to win. I hope the front office is, and I hope that they're thinking we'll be sneaky good and try to win some more games this season, because that's not the team I want to root for, that's willing to tank games the way the Dolphins allegedly were. I guess that's been proven, right? That they were trying to tank games in the lawsuit with Brian Flores.
Yep.
That's what the owner wanted.
Yeah, I don't want to play for that owner.
It's amazing all the lawsuits going on right now in the NFL, right? The Dolphins, the Commanders. I mean, there's all this fucking shade going on between the Daniel Snyder and the commissioner.
Snyder says, I've got dirt on all of you. Now, what are you going to do at this meeting? I laughed.
Yeah. He's got videos of them getting fucked by a horse, Hey,
do you guys remember the movie Major League from '88?
Yeah.
All right. It's a different sport. It's just a movie. But if you recall in the film, the owner's wanting to move the Indians out of Cleveland and wants them to lose. So intentionally has, a quote unquote bad team assembled to do that. but the team comes together, and of course they make it to the playoffs and beat the Yankees. So that's what I want to hear, man. Like we've pointed out, maybe this team isn't the 85 Bears, and I get that, or even the 06 Bears, but we're sitting here with a team that could easily be 4-2.
I know.
So maybe in the second half of the year, you get some of these games that you're losing right now that you're not supposed to win. And the Giants,
even though the schedule is harder.
The Giants are 5-1. Who would have thunk that we were playing a 5-1 team that Sunday? I just didn't see it. The Bears played a 5-1 team and should have beaten them. They should have beaten them. They look better than the Giants.
They played 2 5-1 teams.
Yeah, Minnesota.
The Vikings.
They could have beaten Minnesota. That Minnesota loss is on Alan Williams for refusing to change the defensive scheme in the first half. I mean, that guy should have been punched in the fucking balls. Wake up. Your team, put some pressure on the wide receivers. Quit playing this fucking off 6 yards. Push your corners up. Go bump and run a little bit. He refused to make a change until we were down 21-3. And I know it's Velus Jones who fumbled the punt return there, but god damn, man, or not Velus Jones. It was Velus Jones was in the Giants. It was Smith Marset with the fumble or the takeaway in that game. But still, it shouldn't even come down to that. There's no way you don't make an adjustment there. It's just maddening.
This is what pisses me off about. Sorry, my dogs are playing. This is what pisses me off about that. The fucking Packers are 3-3. If we could have just eked those 2 wins out that we should have gotten, the Packers they would have another loss and they'd be down a count and we'd be up there with the Vikings, ahead of the Vikings, and we'd be in the top of this division. And the Packers, they fucking lost at home to the Jets. It wasn't because of their quarterback. So I mean, what the fuck? Why can't we at least get that win against the Packers when our quarterback, is in the same draft as the quarterback from the Jets that
the guy from BYU,
yeah,
Wilson,
the Jim McMahon wannabe.
It's too bad we're not playing the Packers right now because they are not playing well.
But let me ask you all this, though, honestly, and maybe I'm completely off base. If I told you that the Vikings started 5-1 and didn't make the playoffs with I know he has good stats every year, but Kirk Cousins doesn't, conjure up a bunch of confidence from my seat. If I told you right now Minnesota didn't make the playoffs, would you think I was crazy? Because it seems like they're a team that's capable of shitting the bed.
They have so much talent. It's hard to see them not making the playoffs the way the NFC North is going this season. But go ahead.
The farther they get into the season, the better that the team gets. They're going to start flexing schedules and putting the Vikings on prime time, and that's where you have Kirk Cousins failing miserably. He's not a prime time quarterback. He's just not.
Well, think of it this way: put Jefferson and Cook on the Bears. Are the Bears going to the playoffs then?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know about Cook, but if you put Jefferson with the Bears, then Fields has got a guy that he can. That's a real wide receiver number 1 right there.
Fields he's a prime time quarterback too. I mean, the Steelers game was his best game. He was on prime time last week. He had a good game. They just couldn't finish if they got those 3 touchdowns, we're talking about this a different fucking way. So he got him down there. It's a game of inches, and they didn't get those inches it took to get into the end zone. And had they gotten there, we're talking about another Justin Fields comeback, and this kid's he's a primetime player. I would rather see Justin Fields against Kirk Cousins on prime time as a Bears fan than I would as a Vikings fan. That's for sure.
Speaking of the Steelers, go ahead, Cliff. Sorry.
I'm resigned to the fact that the Bears are not going to win the Super Bowl this year. They're probably not going to make the playoffs this year. So I'm leaning towards the developmental aspects of it. I know we all want to see the Bears win, but you're going to be so heartbroken with each game if they don't step it up enough to get over 500.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Pittsburgh, did you all see one Mitchell Trubisky with a big comeback win yesterday off the bench to help them beat Tampa Bay? I didn't see it, but I read about it.
Finally got his comeback win, huh?
Yeah, Mitchell owns Tampa Bay. He had his 6 touchdowns against Tampa Bay, and he come off the bench yesterday. Fuck you, Tom Brady. This is Mitch's team. I'm being facetious, but he owns them the way Rodgers owns us.
I wish that Tampa was still in the Bears division so I could go to the games, one game every year.
Oh, yeah. The NFC Central days, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears always used to win during those games, though, except in '89 when they swept us.
Right.
That's when they had Jesse the Body Ventura during their games on radio, too.
Oh, God. That's awful.
You have a fantastic memory. I got to say that.
No shit.
I'm just a nerd, man. That's all.
No, you're a dork.
Well, here, we better continue on, or we're going to be here till midnight.
No shit. So where are we at? Number 8?
All right, we're on to linebackers now. So you guys already mentioned Roquan quite a bit. Now, I've got a question for you concerning that. Do you think that Roquan's not being so great, except for one game this year, is because of him? Or is it because the defensive line is not doing their job and getting pressure up the middle and taking the, letting Roquan be Roquan?
That's a great question.
I'll let you go, Dan.
I think there's some truth to that, that the defensive line is not generating any pressure seemingly at all. And the fact that they're not even stopping the run, that's got to hurt Roquan for sure. But some of that's on the player too. So I'm going to say it's a little bit in the middle. I don't mean to just not give you a real answer, but I think that the fault goes to both the defensive line and on Roquan. Roquan had the one massive game and has kind of been quiet the rest of the way. And he's racked up some tackles, but he's had a lot of tackles where he's wrapping that are significant where he lets the guy go.
Yeah, and he's down there at, after 5 tackles have been missed, and he's getting the cleanup tackle.
Yeah,
he has a sack and an interception. Oh, that looked good, right? But when you're talking about someone who wants the money that he wants, I'm not a I'm not a Roquan Smith hater. I love Roquan Smith. I couldn't believe that we got him when they drafted him after watching him, dominate in the national championship game. But I just think that we talked about on Bears Country podcast before the season started that when the whole, contract talk was going on, that you don't know what you have in a 4-3 will linebacker Roquan Smith. You know what you have in a middle linebacker 3-4 Roquan Smith, but you don't know what you have in a 4-3. And to go giving him this exorbitant amount of money without having that tape to work from, you really can't, in my mind, make a decision like that. And I'm glad they held out. And if Roquan Smith ends up leaving via free agency, I will be sad to see him go, but I would have been happy with the process that the Bears took to assure that they weren't going to overpay for someone who wasn't an actual premium at their position.
I would franchise him. I I wouldn't let him go for free.
You'd franchise him, huh? You'd give him $25 million a year?
I would say you hope to trade
18,
him.
19.
I would say you hope to trade him if you franchise him and not pay him that. But the bottom line is you want to get some kind of compensation for a guy you drafted as the first player in the 2018 draft. Now, if I were writing a script, I would find a way to bring him back that's good for both parties, the team and for Roquan. But I'm afraid that he's going to be gone. But having said that, for the Bears, maybe you franchise him and then try to trade him.
Yep. If you can't bring him back, at least trade him. Don't let him just hit free agency.
Right.
Exactly.
Do not let him hit free agency. Trade him for whatever you can get for him.
And then you can keep him out of the North, too. You don't want to trade him or allow him to sign with Minnesota or Green Bay or Detroit. You just don't.
Well, Detroit would probably be okay, but not Minnesota or Green Bay.
Yeah, tell that to Don Burr. All right,
Well, I
moving
don't think
on.
we're any better than Detroit, guys. I mean, honestly, are we any better than Detroit?
No, we're not. We haven't scored more points than Detroit.
That's what I'm saying. Him going to Detroit could be a big deal, in my opinion.
They're still finding ways to lose. So okay,
surprisingly.
Moving on to Nicholas Morrow. You guys been happy with him? Does he get a pass?
Yeah, he's sort of a stopgap guy. I don't see him as someone that you're going to build a team around, but he's done okay, right? I mean, he's been all right.
I think he's done okay.
Is that similar to Matt Adams? About the same, where he's
Matt
there?
Adams seems like he's hurt all the time. Like, and I don't mean to say that disparagingly. I don't want to say it disparagingly, but it seems like, I don't know, he's been hurt 2 or 3 times already this year. I'm not sure how to evaluate him.
Yeah, Matt Adams has done shit for me this year. I mean, I would say at this point, if I had to,
plus his offseason arrest too. Don't forget that.
Yeah, I would say go on Nicholas Morrow, or a pass, not a fail. Yeah.
Okay.
So far, anyway.
On a happier topic, Jack Sanborn. You guys want to see more of him on the field?
I don't know, man. He looked good in that preseason game. But again, I don't want to over-evaluate because of a preseason game like the Tanner Gentry, when I thought we had something there, and then he was just non-existent on the field. I don't know enough about Jack. I mean, maybe he's a good special teams, or I don't know if he should be starting though.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd like to see him in the game. I mean, I think we saw him a little bit this year, but it's nothing that you can, talk about. So I don't want to see him in some of the actual 3-4 packages where he is in as a middle linebacker and put Roquan at the will, and then maybe see what Morrow does at the Sam, just because he has a little bit more range. I don't know. The defense really doesn't seem to be the problem this year, so it's hard to talk about mix-ups like that. But I would say that if you were going to see what you had in him, that put him in there at middle linebacker and see what he has.
How nice
the kid's
would
got
it be?
Some talent.
How nice would it be to have Singletary on the team right now?
I love Mike, and everyone acts like he wasn't that good now. I mean, don't forget he was Defensive Player of the Year, in 1988. I mean, just the guy had so much heart. I know that Otis Wilson.
How many Pro Bowls?
Yeah, he had an enormous amount of Pro Bowls, like at least 10. But I know Otis Wilson wrote in the book that it was he and Wilbur Marshall that were making him look so good, and there's probably a lot of truth to that, because it's not like Singletary was like dominant except for that 1 year in 88 without those guys. But still, I think because of his failed attempt at coaching, a lot of people act like he wasn't that good, and that's so unfortunate. And I've said this before. I'll ask you all a question. Again, I know I'm rambling through Cliff's notes, but if you had to choose one guy, same age, same everything, I take Singletary over Urlacher. And everyone seems to think I'm crazy now.
Singletary seemed to be more clever in how he played the game, but Urlacher had the physical ability to make up for that. So
I think you're talking about the different eras are hard to compare, though, too, Dan.
I agree, but still, like, to me, Singletary, I would rather have Mike as in any era versus Urlacher. That's my opinion, though. But a lot of people act like Mike wasn't that good now. I just don't see that.
Yeah, I know. I'm hearing a lot of that myself, too. Like, oh, Mike Singletary. Are you fucking kidding me? Eyes staring everyone down. Like, he was like staring down the running back, staring down the quarterback. Like, he had the psyche on them. Like, they were afraid of him, man.
I think he would he'd be a fantastic fit with Roquan and Morrow. He would run that defense, and they would be able to do a lot more with him in the middle.
I agree.
So, okay, finally, Joe Thomas. Thoughts on him?
I think he's done well when he's been forced to play. I can't say that he's done well enough to start every week or something like that because I haven't evaluated the tape or whatever. But the few times I've seen Joe Thomas in there because of Adams being hurt, I thought he's done all right.
So have I. I think Jalen Jones has done okay too. Just pulling a name out of a hat, random players that you wouldn't have thought would have played as much as that have played well. I think Jalen Jones gets
I agree for an undrafted guy.
Grade.
Yeah, for an undrafted guy who's kind of got thrown in there because I guess Jalen Johnson got hurt in practice, right? So yeah, again, is he going to be your shutdown corner number one? Probably not, but he's done okay when he's been forced to play. And thankfully, Jalen Johnson's back though. That's only going to make Tyler Gordon better,
Jalen Johnson,
he's developing into a shutdown corner.
Yeah, he certainly is, Cliff. You notice it when he's not in the game. He shuts. What are his stats in the league so far from his rookie year till now are astonishing. If you look at his, the amount of balls even thrown his direction are becoming so little. It's like impressive. He just takes the other main receiver out of the game. There's no balls even really thrown to them. So they game plan around him. And if he's in the game, it makes a difference. And it'll help to develop some of the younger talent that we have. And, Gordon and even Vildor moving over from a 3-4 to a 4-3 defense in a cover 2 scheme. He's working in his zone scheme now. I always thought that Vildor would be more of a zone scheme cornerback as opposed to a 4-3 or a 3-4 zone scheme cornerback because it requires a little different zones. And I think he's working out well in this current defense personally. And you're seeing the development now of Kyler Gordon too. He's getting better and better and better. The first game, everyone was like, oh my God, what the fuck did they do with this kid? And now we're into the 6th game and we're like, oh, we're exhaling. This goes back to the patience is a virtue thing. Oh, this kid's actually pretty good. There's a future with this kid. So I think that's kind of where we're going with a lot of things. We just kind of have to exhale.
What a difference between the Bears secondary from last year to this year. Yeah, huge improvement. I've got big improvement on there, and that's exactly what it is.
This defense is keeping us in the games, guys. They really are.
Yeah, but get us a fucking stop. If you have a stop, we beat Minnesota. I don't blame the defense for the short touchdown against Washington, but the defense, if they played just a little bit better against the Giants in Minnesota, we win both of those games. But again, especially against the Giants, it's just like Alan Williams again, like, dude, can't you make some kind of adjustment off that bootleg? Why can't the team make an adjustment in the first or second quarter? He will get to coaching has been a phenomenal disappointment for me as our defensive coordinator, but hopefully the defense can continue to play some better football. And if that's the case, if they get better and can stop the run at all, and that's just going to help Fields even more.
Yep.
All right, let's all right, we jumped ahead to cornerbacks there, so let's go back to the safeties so that we can talk about Jaquan Brisker. A definite pass.
Brisker's been awesome, and even Eddie Jackson has played much better football.
Both of them. Brisker's getting better every game. You're starting to see the hits come along. He's starting to drill people. Fucking Jackson has been drilling people. He's been hitting with some impact. They're not quite, the linebacker impact. He still has a little bit of he can put a little bit more juice into him, but he's still a drastic uptick from the last couple of years that we've seen from, in fact, his entire career. He's actually coming with some missile. He's Jaquan Brisker is good. Yeah.
Eddie's back where he belonged, finally. He's back playing the proper position, and we can see the difference it makes.
He's got that Jaquan Brisker that's helping him out. He's making his job easier. And you could tell he loves that kid. When he talks about him, the eyes glow. I mean, when he talks about this new defense and he talks about Jaquan Brisker, he gets all lit up. He's excited about that kid.
Sure. Okay. The other two safeties we could mention: DeAndre Houston Carson, pass for him, and then Dane Cruikshank's been injured.
Yeah, DHC is your crafty veteran who does a little bit of everything. He could come in and start a game if you need him to. He's a special teams ace. I have no problems or quarrels with him at all.
I just want to know from people in chat here. I'm going to remove this for a second because I would like to know: are we at least upticking your spirits? Are we making you feel like at least a little bit better about this team? I would like to know your thoughts in the comments because, everyone just gets so over the top in their reactions to things. And we're just trying to take a deep breath and realize that, listen, everyone said this team was going to be the worst fucking team in the league. How much have we heard it? Are they the worst team in the league? No. Maybe in some actual statistical categories they are, but overall they're not. We're seeing the uptick of this team. They're getting better. They are. So I just wanted to take a moment to remind everyone, and I hope that you agree that we're being positive, and I hope that you agree with our positivity because, shit doesn't happen overnight, man. You don't just go in and build a Super Bowl winning team overnight. We thought it was going to happen with the, oh God, I'm going to have to do this now that I'm about to say it, but we thought that it was going to happen in the Nagy era.
I'm not even going to get into that. I have zero thought.
I have zero thought on that either, but it didn't. And here we are now with a real coaching staff. I think something we can all believe in. And we're seeing the progress is if you can flip over the stones and find the progress under each stone, you will find the positives in this team. And if you choose to remain positive, you will find those positives. So I hope that we're helping you guys to, not let your hair on fire because we're not the worst team in the league like everyone thought we were. So moving on to Cliff Notes. I'm sorry, I just had to say that because this show on Barroom tonight is about just trying to make everyone feel better about this team this season and what we're seeing.
Hey, we have to have a shorty rant in there. It's a big part of the show. So, and
Seriously.
I think that at this point, we're a third of the way through. I think it's a good time to take a breath and everybody remember where the Bears are this year. And, we started to get so excited about the wins. So let's relax and let's realize when we get to the coaching aspect of this, we can talk a little bit about how Poles and Flus and the rest of them have done. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Let's see where we at. Okay, special teams. This is going to take probably another hour to go through special teams, I'm sure.
Let's just sum it up with two fucking Velus Jones fumble, drop, kick, punt returns to ruin 2 games. We could end it with that.
Yes, the kickers are okay. The returners need improvement.
We were all complaining about the Cairo Santos in the 49ers game when he missed all the extra points on that shitty turf in the monsoon, but he's been doing well since.
Yes, he's back.
Yeah.
And don't forget the guy that's kicking in Detroit was 4 for 4 with us in the game against the Giants.
Yep.
So let's hope the Bears can finally find somebody to return kicks that doesn't drop the balls and that has at least a little bit of Hester type moves in them sooner or later.
Like you said, Dan, maybe Pettis.
I think Pettis definitely has to be the punt returner. I don't know about kick returner. Maybe they try to keep Jones there. I wouldn't be disappointed if they go back to Ebner, who started the year in that role. But man, there's no way Velus should be returning punts after that. 2 of your first 3 games, man, in critical times, you're shitting the bed.
You
This-
lost
Costing
the
us
game.
Yes.
If this is the NFL, man, I mean, I'm sorry. Like you got to put on tape some success to keep your job, and he hasn't earned it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yep. All right. I think that's all we need on the special teams.
So it wasn't an hour. You're right. You were wrong,
no.
I should say.
I can make it an hour. Don't tempt me. All right.
No, let's not do that.
All right. Let's move on to the GM, Ryan Poles. Love him or hate him, pass or fail.
Pass.
I mean, I
Dan?
don't love him. I don't hate him. I wish him well. I hope he
No.
does.
No, Ryan Poles, not Pace.
No, I know, but it's too
okay.
early for me to say if I love him. I don't hate him. So right now I guess I'll say he passes, but it's not like he's overwhelmingly passing, but I think he passes.
Are you thinking about 14 rookies playing on a 2-4 team? Is that what's making you like hesitant to say pass?
The offensive line, man. The offensive line. This guy's supposed to be some offensive line guru, and like you inherited a quarterback. I know you don't know if you like him yet or not, but don't fucking get him killed. Just because, we didn't draft him, it's okay for him to get knocked on the fucking ground over and over and over. That pisses me off, dude. That guy is giving you all of his heart and body and mind and everything. Protect him. That's supposed to be your forte, your specialty. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that gets me close to calling him a failure, not the 14 rookies. Because I like Gordon, I like Brisker, but man, keep the quarterback off the fucking ground, man. That is your job. And he's failing in that one. Pisses me off. I don't even want to talk about it. I'll give him a failure if I keep talking about it.
I'll give you that.
Job.
I'll give you that. All right, before you piss Dan off, move on to the next one.
Well, here we go. Quantity versus quality. All right. Poles could have brought in some higher priced talent and had a couple of good players stay on the offensive line. But instead, he chose to go the quantity route, hoping that the Bears end up with some stars out in the future. Now,
I think you're about to piss Dan off again.
Do you guys agree with the quantity over quality path?
Do you want to go first, Dan, so I can defuse you?
I didn't mind it so much a wide receiver because everyone points out again the room in its entirety is $4.4 million, but he signed a lot of guys that had something to prove. So to me, and he did have salary cap problems. There's no way to dispute that coming in, trying to clean up a mess that Ryan Pace left us. So again, I am willing to give him a pass everywhere except where he's supposed to be an expert, and that's the offensive line. The offensive line, you got to do something. There's got to be a way to, I don't know who you got to get or who you got to sign or who you got to draft, but dude, fucking fix the offensive line. Yeah, Mustafa has to go. Exactly.
And you're right, G2K. Great questions tonight, Cliff.
Thank you.
I'm going to agree with Dan a little bit and just say, like, I think that even though he's an offensive line guy, he really did double and triple down as much as he could. I mean, he turned 5 picks into 11, and a lot of those were offensive linemen at the end. And I know that, let's just look at the Cowboys in the 90s. They got so many of those offensive linemen that were Hall of Famers that led that team to multiple Super Bowls in the late rounds. And I think that's where Poles was going with this. And at this point, I'm going to call it at the moment a pass because he took a lot of swings and he's got some stuff on the field that's still in the works. And I'm not ready to give up on whether or not I think that's failed or not yet. So I'm going to go with a pass. I think that, Poles is doing a good job, in my opinion, so far with what he had to work with. And I know that everything plays out as the season goes on, and you start to see where the failures are, and you start to see where the successes are, and you start to blame the failures on this and that, and you start to, give reverence to the positives and the things that they did well. And at this point, it's too early for me to tell. I think that we could possibly have starters from this past draft starting next year that we're not even talking about.
Well, just let me interject on that with the offensive line in mind. Thinking again about the last Bears Super Bowl team, you had Fred Miller, Roberto Garza, John Tate, and Reuben Brown, none of which you drafted.
Right.
Of course, you drafted Olin, but those other 4 picks were all from free agency. So I know everyone says, oh, you can't build with free agency, but the Bears built a solid line through free agency that ultimately helped take us to a Super Bowl. And I agree that Leatherwood pick, you never know like what Alex Leatherwood's going to give us the second half of the year. Hopefully he's here to show people he's not a bust and can do some good work. Just got to have somebody that goes in there that you got to have one guy that, is going to maul somebody, that's going to set tempo, that the defense like kind of fears or something. Like it feels like most of our guys are just guys. You got to have a fucking guy that is going to knock somebody's dick in the dirt, and maybe Leatherwood can do that for us.
And strangely enough, the one guy that we have that does that is Tevin Jenkins. And they're like, well, let's just put this guy in place of him and see what he can do.
Yeah,
exactly. Fuck that guy. Let's put this guy in place and see what he can do. Like, what the fuck?
You want a road grader. I agree with you completely. Someone that's just going to plow the people down that they don't want to line up against.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right, Cliff. Okay. What's the next?
Okay.
What's your next Cliff note?
Okay. So first, I'll make a comment on Poles. I'm going to give him a favorable incomplete. He wants a 2-year plan. He's always said that. So, all right, he's got 1 more year, and then next year we can make our final pass-fail on him. So, okay.
I would agree.
Coaches. All right. Dan Aguire's already talked a little bit about Williams. And I got to say, Dan, I didn't mention it at the time because I was waiting for this segment, but I agree. Hey, Tooch, but I agree with you completely that Williams has been making some questionable moves at times. So the coaches are rookies. What are your guys' opinions, pass, fail on each coach, on Getsy, on Williams?
I'm going to say Getsy passes, but again, I'm going to give him like a C. Eberflus, I like all of them. They're wearing Bears colors, so I like them all. But I'm just saying Eberflus, I'm going to give like a B-2 so far. I like them. But Alan Williams, man, I'm not saying he's not capable because, I mean, who am I to say that? But like I told you, like the inability to make adjustments in that Giants game when they're running the same bootleg and you got a bum. I mean, Daniel Jones is a bum. I'm sorry. He is. If Justin Fields sucks, then Daniel Jones is really terrible. And you got that guy looking like having the best game of his life against you, and you can't do anything to stop it. Nothing. And then against Minnesota, you're down 21-3 before you even try to make an adjustment. That just pisses me off. I'm like, oh, God, it's some Mel Tucker shit. Like I know Mel Tucker has been successful after the Bears, so maybe Alan Williams will be as well. But his defense and his inability to make adjustments, it reminds me of Mel Tucker.
The coaching grades for me, I'm definitely going to give a pass to all 3, and here's why. Eberflus he seems to me to be a head coach. You see him talk in the press conferences. He knows what he's talking about. You believe his conviction. You see as a plan. You believe in it. You can tell that the rest of the team, players, and coaches are buying into what he's saying. Going into Getsy, I'm going to give him a pass as well because I think there are some things I'm seeing on the field play calling wise that are good. It's just they're not being executed correctly. And whether that's Fields, like we talked about earlier, seeing the play too late and realizing, oh shit, it's too late to throw the ball, or whether it's the offensive line breaking down around him. I think the play calling has not been the problem on offense. I think there's been an offensive line issue as much as, to blame Justin Fields on his lack of seeing the plays that were there. And that just has to do with experience. As far as defensive coordinator, I don't know why everyone's has anything shitty to say about him. I mean, they're defensively up until the last 2 games, they hadn't given up a touchdown, in the first 4 games of the season in the second half. Second half wise, you can almost count on them to just shut the team down. And that's what they've done. It's just been that lack
not Minnesota.
of. Yeah, not Minnesota. No, but that was the one touchdown in the second half. The Commanders got one only because of the Velus Jones fumble. But you take away that fucking Velus Jones fumble, they probably don't get another touchdown in that second half either. So, I mean, that's hearsay. That's what ifs. But so technically,
the drive that they gave a touchdown up, or no, it was a field goal in the first half against Washington. There were a lot of bullshit penalties called on the Bears on that one drive that gave them points. I mean, really bad calls. But someone asked me, how do you make adjustments? I mean, it's obvious against Minnesota when Jefferson's eating you alive, and it's because you're giving him a 6 to 7, 8 yard cushion every time. What did they do in the second half? They brought the guys up. You could have done that in the first quarter. You could have done that after the first drive and said, "Oh, that's not going to work today, guys, because this guy's eating us up." And you can make adjustments there. So I think you can make in-quarter adjustments. To suggest otherwise, I completely disagree with. Like you're just like standing there, like, "Oh, we can't do anything to halftime." I can't make an adjustment now. That's to me why your job is to see what's going on and to make quick analysis of what's happening. In my opinion, I think you can make adjustments. I give Alan Williams a fucking F so far, an F.
Even though he's made the halftime adjustments,
I think he needs to do. He needs to do better things on the defensive line. The Bears are not.
Yeah, and the running. Yeah, Cliff, there you go. The inability to stop the run, the inability to stop, like to make those adjustments with the bump and run coverage or press coverage, whatever you want to call it. To me, he's got to be better, and maybe he will be. I mean, I'm just saying. Right now, we're talking on October 17th. So far, he's not excelling.
Don't you guys think that's the need for that big pig in the center that I'm talking about? That nose tackle, that Ted Washington, that Vitz Wilfork that should be hogging up that.
I'm too old, or I would be there.
That's part. That's part of it. But I mean, the Bears. Look who Poles signed first of all. He tried to get a 3-tech, and that didn't work out, and they never found something to fix that. So they need, for this defense to work, they need a good 3-tech.
You're right. But that 3-tech still will not work with a flimsy nose tackle. You have to have that nose tackle for the 3 technique to work. They go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other.
Why'd they let Tonga go then?
Because he just wasn't moving the piles like he should have been, I think. Kenny Ray says, I miss Tonga. What do you guys think about Tonga based on last year? And you think he was that nose tackle? I'm not sure based on this preseason. And a 4-3.
I liked him, but I think it's one of those deals like they're like coming in to blow it up, and we didn't draft him, so fuck him. And I think and sometimes your ego can get in your way because that guy's just a massive man in there. Like I think that was a bad move. I think Akeem Hicks even said it on Twitter, like they're letting him go. Yeah. So I would have kept Tonga too, and that's not even in hindsight. I was a fan of his last year.
By the way, as we're getting kind of closer to the end of the show, let's make sure you guys, if you have any questions for us, make sure you ask your questions, and Kitty will be pulling them aside, and we'll have a little segment at the end of this to kind of go over your questions in chat and converse with you. It's kind of hard to do when we're doing this whole thing, and it's much easier.
I don't let you.
Yeah, and Cliff doesn't let us. So when we get to the end, we can do that. So get your questions ready for us, and plug them in there. Kitty will pull them aside, and we'll go through them one by one.
If I let you guys talk, none of us would get any sleep tonight.
No shit.
I'm sorry.
All right. Hey, all right. Finally, point 15.
Finally, point 15.
Hey, this has been a great, as some of the people in chat have mentioned, this is what we needed. We needed to step back and, relax a little bit. So here, point 15.
Patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue.
There you go. All right, 2023. Up, and away. That's what I'm looking forward to. We've got a full draft. All right, I just found this out today that we've got a compensatory pick coming for a 7th round pick coming next year.
For who?
Because there's some kind of weird mechanical type thing where if they didn't give out 32 picks this season, they have to give out an extra one next season, and that's based on, I don't know. Look it up for yourselves if you guys want to see what it's based on. But 7th round compensatory pick, which will replace our pick that we gave up for Nikhil, correct?
It would, yes.
So there we go. A full draft of picks and 107 million plus, probably a bit more than that if they raise the salary cap or whatever happens. What do you guys want to do with the picks? What do you want to do with the money? What areas are you guys targeting?
I'm going to let you go first, Dan.
I want offensive line. I mean, I think it starts there. I like our quarterback. He's got to play better. I know that. But part of the reason he's not excelling is because of the offensive line. I don't want to make excuses for him, but to me, that's where it's got to start. I referenced the 06 team with the 4 linemen that they signed, left tackle from KC, John Tate. They got Garza from Atlanta, Fred Miller from the Rams. I mean, you can do that. I mean, it's possible. Get Reuben Brown from Buffalo, I think. So I'm not saying you have to sign everybody out of free agency, but it's plausible to suggest you rebuild this line this offseason. But I hate to give you a shitty answer because the fan in me, the optimist in me, the meathead in me is telling me there are 11 games left. And I'm sorry, I'm not willing to give up on this season, regardless if Ryan Poles is and says just keep the scrubs in there and get our quarterback killed. I'm going to watch every game. I want every game to be a win, regardless of what other people say. So to me, I don't even want to think about 23 yet. We play next Monday. Let's get a win.
I agree. Did you guys see? You probably didn't, but I did the Vikings week. I did a podcast on Bears Country Podcast. By the way, for anyone that does not know, we have our own channel. You can go check us out there. There's more content on Bears Country Podcast on our own channel, and I interviewed a Vikings podcaster leading up to the week in the Vikings game, and he was convinced from his outside perspective that Ryan Poles and this regime is not bought in to Justin Fields, that they inherited this quarterback. This is a Vikings fan's perspective, that they just inherited this quarterback and they're just trying to kind of ride this out to try to get a better quarterback in this draft. To which the first thing I say is, what is a better quarterback in this draft? Fucking Bryce Young? Bryce Young is like smaller than Tua Tagovailoa that can't stay on the field. He throws a better ball. He's got a nice ball, but he's just too small. And what, the other Ohio State quarterback? What, they're just going to dive into another Ohio State quarterback that everyone's been bitching that Ohio State can't produce quarterbacks? This is Justin Fields' team for the foreseeable future, and we all need to just relax and realize that it takes time to develop a quarterback. It does. It doesn't. Some people, it happens overnight. You can take all 3 of us and give us a keyboard typing class for 2 months and see who comes out on top. being able to just look at the screen and type on a fucking keyboard without looking at the keyboard. And who's going to pass and who's going to fail? I'm going to fail. Cliff, you might pass. You just pointed out yourself that you might pass.
Yes, I took typing in high school.
Okay, so you would. I would fucking fail that. Dan, I don't know what you would do. But the point is, we're all different people. Everyone learns things at a different rate. And it's just foolish to jump on the fact that listen, we all signed up for this knowing this was going to be a fucking hard season. Some of us tried to remain optimistic. I still am. Dan still is. I think you still are, Cliff.
Sure.
Most of us jumped into the sewage pit thinking that this team was going fucking 1-16. It's hard to remember because they added the extra game. 1-16. That's not going to happen, people. So it's a process. Let's just make sure that we ride it out, enjoy the fucking process, because when we get there, we're going to remember all of this shit that we have been going through.
I've been saying that for 30 years.
So have I. But
like losing 8 games in a row in 2002 when you started out 2-0, or starting 4-0 in 1989 and finishing 6-10. This is shit I've been saying. Like I don't want to sound like I have some, what's the word I'm looking for, is like someone that's entitled, but I feel like I've paid my dues as a fan here. Like we deserve a chance to fucking win, man. Like every fan's going to feel that way, but God, we've been riding with this team forever, man. And they, in some instances, they don't deserve us.
Listen, I'm saving my negativism for the time when it's needed. I'm going to try to remain positive and preach positivity as long as I can. When I get to that point, you're going to know it. It'll be a meltdown.
I'm hoping that we're at if you guys remember the Bulls when Jordan was a rookie, I'm hoping we're at that stage right now. You know, and remember all the good things that came from that. Let's hope that Justin Fields can give us that type of feeling once again.
I'm hoping we're at the Michael Jordan is getting pounded by the Detroit Pistons stage. Remember that?
Yeah,
of course.
Just hammering him like a hammer on the nail. That's what Justin Fields. He's the Michael Jordan, just going up for a dunk and getting slammed to the floor by Dennis Rodman or what's his name?
Rick Mahorn or Bill Laimbeer.
Mahorn, yes, thank you. Bill Laimbeer, thank you. So that's the process we're in right now. It's going to take a little bit of time, and we just that's all. That's all I have to say. That's my rant.
Now, if you watch the All 22, Justin is clearly learning the offense. You know, he's not there yet, and it's going to take time. You know, you're switching from whatever the fuck Pace was doing, you know, and the man who shall not be named.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I have to queue up I got my head. Don't do it. I'll queue it up.
You mean Nagy?
I'm not even going to get into that. I have zero thought.
Don't make me do it again, Cliff.
All right. The man who shall not be named.
I'm not even going to get into that. I have zero thought. I'm not even going to get into that. I have zero thought.
Sorry, I clicked it.
You're making it hard for me to talk. I'm laughing so much. Anyways, Justin has to go from that offense to this current offense, and he's still learning it. He's 6 games into this current offense. So we're at the 3rd of the season point. You know, maybe we do this again the bye week, and then we see where they are then. That'll be about the second third. So, you know, I mean, something to look forward to for the future. And we'll keep comparing it. We'll keep progressing. And when we're doing the show next year, hopefully we'll be talking about some good wins and good things happening.
I like what Michael Hedman says there. We're at the early Walter Payton days where he got killed because he was our whole offense.
Very good.
And he was the entire offense back. That's what Justin Fields was, the entire offense. The last how many games?
And could you imagine if Jack Pardee or even Neil Armstrong were like, well, we didn't draft this fucking kid from a small school. Like, why should we build our team around this Jackson State kid? We didn't draft him. That's
No shit.
the fucking arrogance for like polls to just be like, we didn't draft Fields. Like, fucking
That's
wake
such
up
an-
and see what you have.
That is such an excellent way to put it, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you, man. God, because Peyton wasn't Peyton yet. And he
Right.
had all these different coaches, and they could have easily given up on him and been like, oh, we didn't draft him. You know, that's such bullshit.
Just like Jordan wasn't Jordan yet either. He was junking all over everyone and, doing his best, but losing games. And,
How many coaches did Jordan go through early on to it? Did
exactly.
To me, like, Jordan wasn't Jordan until Doug Collins got there. Like, Jordan was always Jordan, but I'm just saying, like, Doug Collins, like, he's in conference finals games with Doug Collins, and arguably still wins titles. I guess, Phil made him pass the ball more and all that. And Doug was kind of like, we're going to isolate everybody, get the fuck out of the way. But I'm just saying, like, Jordan had to go through a couple of coaches. What if the Bulls' other coaches were like, oh, he's not a winner. We didn't draft him. Let's fucking trade him.
Triple R says, Jordan and Peyton, y'all are reaching on who JF is. I disagree with you, Triple R. I think that this kid has the same intangibles that those two players that we talked about in different sports. I think he has all of those. I think he has every single one of those traits it takes to be a superstar. It takes to be great. I really do believe that.
I look at how difficult it is to find a good franchise quarterback, and I think Justin Fields has the ability to become that. And I don't see anybody else out there over the next year or maybe 2 years that would give the Bears nearly the same chance.
Think about this, guys. We can all agree that Justin has not played his best football yet. I mean, I think that's it. Even for the believers,
100%.
right?
100%.
And still, look at it. Like last week against Washington, he's had the whole world's against him. The fucking announcers every time he takes a step back. Well, I'm Kirk Herbstreit. Well, look at the way his foot is here. He's not doing this right. He's not doing that right. And the line's getting him hit every play. But yet somehow, even albeit with his legs, he put us in a position to win that game.
2 games in a row.
Yeah, same thing with Minnesota. I mean, it's
with his
like
fucking legs.
Exactly. And it's all heart. For him to be running down the field when he's hurt, his shoulders hurt, his ribs are hurt, his fucking dignity and his pride's hurt, like everything's hurt. He missed that throw. He's got the world against him, and he still put us in a position to win. And frankly, they should have won had Darnell Mooney not dropped the ball, or maybe the referee stands there and sees a PI and doesn't throw a flag on 3rd down.
And I have to move the mic away from this to yell. Like, that kid fucking busted people are calling him a run-first quarterback. I'm hearing that. He's not a fucking run-first quarterback. His offensive line is breaking down around him, and he's a young player trying to learn a brand new offense. He's going to rely on his legs. I hope this is not too loud, because the one fucking thing I can't stand is hearing people say he's a run fucking first quarterback. He is not a run fucking first quarterback. He's trying his ass off not to be. And it just so happens the offensive line is not giving him the time. Shit's breaking down around him. And when he does end up having the opportunity to throw the guy that's fucking open, that changes route mid-play, and he missed it at the right fraction of a second that he had to get the goddamn ball out of his hand, and therefore chose not to throw the interception. That, to me, is a kid that is learning to play the fucking game with the fucking potential of a Walter Payton / Michael Jordan superstar it factor. I'm done.
To me, when I see him, it's from flashes. He reminds me of early Randall Cunningham. Just with this incredible athleticism, or early Steve McNair. Both of those guys would later in time show you that McNair was called Aaron McNair when he was in a smaller school. So they're like, well, maybe it won't translate. And early on, maybe it didn't. but hell, he led the Titans to a Super Bowl and then an AFC title game after that. And I'm just saying, the late.
I went on a Randall Cunningham bender on YouTube like a few months ago, and I was like, "That's fucking the current Justin Fields." You said it right, Dan.
Yeah, and by the time Randall's in Minnesota, when they're 15-1, that's all arm. Randall's a little bit older there, and he's not really running. He's just throwing the ball to Chris Carter and Randy Moss and Robert Smith out of the backfield, and they're winning 15 games. And that's Randall just on his arm. Like, to me, that's who Fields could be.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about a couple of quarterbacks. I'll mention their names who fans were trying to get traded, trying to get dropped from the team. Those quarterbacks were Josh Allen and Hurts.
Right. Especially Josh Allen. They were calling Josh Allen a bum in his second year, saying he was a bust.
Mm-hmm.
So
same thing with Jalen Hurts.
Guys watching this program, think about that. Watch their first couple of seasons, and then look at Justin Fields and, give him a chance.
I'll give the guy on the score some credit right now. I forget his name, so I can't actually give him credit because I forgot his name. But he's on the score in Chicago. He's after Bernstein and Rahimi. I forget his name. But last year, he was talking about Jalen Hurts' progress from year 1 to year 2. And he was saying, if we can get that from Justin Fields from year 1 to year 2, I would be happy with that. And look at where Jalen Hurts is now in year 3. And I'm going to agree with him on that. If you can get Justin Fields into, which he's not, into that same category that Jalen Hurts was last year by the end of the season, if you can just get him there by the end of this season, I think next year he has to blow up. The kid's got everything it takes.
And then give him a young WR1 prospect that they pick up in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
unlike Christian Watson.
If you could get him somebody like Jefferson, man, and again, I'm not trying to shit on Allen Robinson, but to me, A-Rob was never that number one guy either. Like a legit number one. I think, I know you could say, well, he wasn't this or wasn't that because of his mental health. But to me, in the last 20 years, the only number one that we had was Brandon Marshall.
Right.
Where he's a legit fucking beast. I mean, there were Curtis Conway was solid, super solid, and arguably a number one. And Jeff Graham was solid with us. And for a little short period of time, Marcus Robinson and Alshon. We can keep going. We've had good receivers over the years, but like the one that to me that was like, ooh, that motherfucker's good is Brandon Marshall. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we've got that on the team now where you look at this guy and you're like, okay, where's he at?
Right. Where's the guy you're going to throw the ball to every time you need to get the ball to someone to win the game? It's not Mooney right now, and that's where the number one argument. Incredible. Right, and that's where the number one argument coming from Mooney because he's not getting those, Devontae Adams balls. He's not the go-to receiver, the guy that you're going to get a first down from or a touchdown from. You don't have that confidence,
He's not that type of receiver. His body type is not like that. He's a WR2 receiver type. He's perfect for that. But the Bears need to step up one way or the other. There's going to be a lot of wide receivers available in upcoming drafts. Luck into or grab a good one.
Here's the problem with Mooney, and this is, I think this is the argument that's going to fully sum this up. Darnell Mooney is
a stiff comment right there. I'm sorry. Someone was saying Fields is Robert Griffin IV. Ooh, that's a little bit stiff. But go ahead, Shorty. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Robert Griffin was solid until he got hurt, by the way.
How do you say that name, by the way? Is that Stephen or Stephen? That's
Stephen May, I believe. I think it's Stephen May. Stephen May.
That's always been a hard one for me. But I disagree with you. I don't think he's the fourth coming of Robert Griffin. I think he's the second coming of, like we were just talking about, Randall Cunningham. He's more on that mold.
But RG3 got hurt too. He was rookie of the year. Let's not forget RG3 was solid until he got hurt. So who's to say if he doesn't get hurt that he's still not in Washington right now? They gave up 3 first-rounders for him. He could have been great. I mean, he got hurt. But to say that Fields is going to be a bust, like RG3 bothers me a little bit. And by the way, it's ironic because RG3 has been tweeting pro Fields things the last few days saying you can't call this kid a bust and shit like that. So.
Well, that's good to hear.
I'm just going to wait. I'm giving Fields the proper amount of time before I make a final decision on him. I gave Trubisky, 2-3 years too, and then decided no, he sucks. But
and Fields hasn't even played an entire season's worth of football yet. So if you want to judge him off of an entire year of Trubisky and take it from that. We haven't even gotten there yet. There's one game to go.
Right.
Now, anybody thinks they can judge an NFL QB in 1 year, I disagree with them.
And the thing that's most frustrating is anyone that's ever sat in the end zone, the seats that I had to the Niners game, they were so close on the field in the end zone that it's almost like you were standing behind the players, seeing the field from their perspective. And you can see how quickly the chaos develops. And you're like, how the fuck can you even see what's happening in front of you? You got all these massive men just, dancing around in front of you, and you're trying to see over them to see these plays developing that are like, it's not like you're standing on a box looking down on it. You're trying to see over everyone to see into it. So, it's not as easy as everyone thinks. That's why they call them armchair quarterbacks.
Yeah, let me comment on one of someone said that, Fields will be good in 7 years and we'll trade him to Minnesota. I mean, Randall threw for 400 yards in the Fog Bowl. I mean, and that was against the 88 Bears defense, which was, in the top 3 or 4 in the whole league. And still he threw for 400 yards in the Fog game. So it's not like Randall was like, just all I can do is run and nothing else until 1998. I mean, he threw for 400 yards against the Bears.
Mm-hmm. And he wasn't a run first quarterback. I never looked at him as that. He just
at the time that Randall was in the league, there was an unfair stigma on black quarterbacks. Even though Doug Williams had already won a Super Bowl, there still was this mentality that all they can do is run, which is just fucking horseshit. But, there was a prejudice at that time against black quarterbacks. And I think that stigma got put on Randall because he could run. But when he couldn't really run him, when he got old and all he could do was throw, he showed you he had a fucking cannon for an arm, is what I'm saying.
No shit. He was awesome in Minnesota.
Most running quarterbacks learn to either stop running or they get hurt. One or the other.
Exactly.
Or you do it in moderation like John Elway. John Elway was much more active in his younger days and, went to those 3 Super Bowls and lost. But when the crunch time against Green Bay in Super Bowl 32, it was Elway that was running and diving for the first down and getting hit and cycloned in the air. And so he could still do it even in his late 30s, but he chilled down a little bit,
Mm-hmm. I like what St. Omni says here in chat. That's Cunningham had a beautiful deep ball. He fucking did, man. I loved watching him throw the ball. Sorry to interrupt you, Cliff.
Yeah, no, he's talking about Cunningham again. Cunningham got hurt on opening day in 91, missed the whole season, and then hurt again in early 93, missed the season. So I don't think that Cunningham was dumped for Jim McMahon, whom I love. I love Jim McMahon. But McMahon was on the cover of Sports Illustrated for comeback player of the year in 91. But that's because Randall got hurt. Randall wasn't benched. Randall got hurt opening day. I think he was in Buffalo when he got hurt, I believe, if my memory serves me correct. But it was definitely opening day of 91.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, that's why Jim was playing, is what I'm saying. It's not like they put McMahon in to bench Cunningham. I mean, McMahon came in and Randall got hurt.
Right.
Well, let's see what happens once the offensive line has some time to gel. Once they have the proper players in there, I'm still hoping Leatherwood turns into another Tevin Jenkins, solve our left guard spot. And then, who knows? Maybe they pick up a tackle in the draft. Maybe they move Braxton Jones to right tackle and they play Reef at left tackle.
That couldn't hurt. I mean, I'm not a big Larry Borum fan anyway. I mean, I know we drafted him and I'm rooting for him, but it's not like Larry Borum is untouchable, at least not from my seat.
Right. I've been rooting for Larry Borum from day one and hoping he would develop, but I agree. I don't think he's untouchable. He's not been perfect. No one's perfect, but he hasn't been like, exceptionally outstanding.
I mean, why did you bring Riley here? I get maybe they're trying to not have to pay him that full contract, which is, again, bullshit. I mean, you're worth billions, your franchise. Paying him $10 million a year would be like paying us $2 an hour or whatever, considering how much they earn as a franchise. But I mean, God, why not just play him at the very least to say, even if you are trying to lose games or whatever the allegation is, just at the very least to protect Fields. And then maybe you can get an honest evaluation of Justin. If you're on the side that says he's a bust, we have to move on, we draft somebody else, well, protect him and see if he's got time and then see how he plays. So if putting in Riley is the move they should make, then fucking do it. Protect this guy.
I think the coaches are trying to figure out what's going to work. I think that's part of the coaches are rookies too. I don't think they've figured it out yet. I think hopefully they learn as everybody else does and they get it together, because some of the moves when they first started out, I loved all their moves. Now I'm finding a little bit of discrepancy between what I think they should be doing and what they are doing.
Coach,
that's what happens every year.
This is my question if I was at the press conference, which I'll never be. Coach Ebe, did you watch the game film from Washington? You did? Okay, because they always say I need time to watch the film. Okay, you've seen it now, right? You do realize number one needs to be protected, right? just saying. You saw that, right? We all saw it too. Okay, it's rhetorical. That's not a question. All right. Let's please put somebody in there. I don't care who it is. I mean, I don't care if you move somebody like James Williams remember Big Cat Williams went from the defensive line to the offensive line and then gave us like 11 seasons or something. I don't care if he's like, well, we're going to move, anybody. I don't care who play. Just protect him. Just protect him, please. Drastic moves. I don't care. Just protect this guy. He's getting killed for real.
You have the fullback, you have the big tight ends. What are they doing? Let's see them do some blocking.
I think that's been the narrative. It's just they have to get that shit figured out. Guys, we got a bunch of questions here in chat. We should probably start getting to them.
Sure.
We got one here from Laz. Do you guys see any changes in the line during this mini break? Kind of what we were just talking about.
Go ahead.
I don't know. If
they come out with the same five next week, just expect to get 10 text messages from me before the game starts. If the same five guys are starting, I'm going on a rant before the game even begins.
Well, I think that Lucas will be starting, but he's going to be back at center.
Well, that would be a great move.
Yep. And then you're going to have Tevin at right guard. You're probably going to have Borum at right tackle. Braxton at left tackle, although I would like to try Reef sometime just to see if he can do any better. And then I'm not sure about what we're going to have at left guard yet.
Does that have anything to do with like not wanting to ruin confidence in, Jones or Borum by not putting in Reef? Is that possibly something to do with it?
I think it's the money. I really do. Because the more playing time he gets, the more they have to pay him based on his contract.
Yeah,
I would surely hope that it's not that, Dan. Because if you're not paying $10 million and protecting your quarterback just because you don't want to pay the money, I don't like that at all.
I don't either. I don't either. I don't. That's what I'm saying. How many more games? We've seen 6. There are only 17 of these. How much more do you need to see before you're like, we've got to make a move? I mean, if this was baseball and you had a pitcher that just continually kept giving up homers, or his ERA was over 5 or something, at some point, you're like, we might have to send this kid down to the minors. You might think he's got potential. But right now he needs something. He might have to go to AAA. That's what I'm saying. Braxton Jones he may be the future. Sam Mustipher, I doubt it, but he may be the future. But right now it's not working. So it's the equivalent of a baseball move where you're like, we're going to put him on the bench or send him to AAA and put in the veteran because they're not cutting it. I like Braxton Jones. I want him to, but 20 pressures in 6 games. He's not doing the job at left tackle right now.
Mm-hmm. I
I
have
think
to agree with you.
I think this is the time that you have to try to find a line and let them gel. But if we get further into the year, you have to do the usual process of letting young guys play and seeing what happens. So at
I
that
think
point,
we've
maybe
tried that though for 6 weeks.
well, yes, but they've come to the conclusion these are the five best guys. Whether they are or not, I don't know. I mean, Riley Reef was signed for a reason. Schofield was signed for a reason, and we're not seeing them play. Is that because the rookies are better, or are they trying to gel the team?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's a good question. It could just be because of they're trying to gel it. I mean, that would make the most sense to me.
In
All right,
that
next.
case, in that case, what they need to do is run the football, run the
Yep,
football, run the
run the
football.
football, and that's what they were doing to start the season.
Mhm.
And then everyone was bitching they're running the ball too much. Where's Justin Fields' breakout game? And they've been trying to work on it, and then it hasn't happened. Now we're all like, Justin Fields sucks. So just fucking run the ball. Just let the game come to the offense by running the ball. Everything comes from
But
running the ball.
the thing is, even when they were running the ball like tremendously, like the most carries in a game since 1984, whenever they would go play action, there would still be a free man in Fields' face, even though they've run the ball 90% of the time of the game. It's like every time he rolls out, there's two people he has to juke just to even make a throw. Like, can't
I
they
know,
give
it's
him
true.
a clean pocket? It doesn't matter how much they run. Every time they pass, someone's free. Fuck,
And the
dude.
metrics show that if you give this kid a clean pocket, he's like one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. Like, what the fuck? Just give him a clean pocket, guys.
Well,
All right.
run the football, and when you're not running it, act like you're running it because that seems to be when it succeeds. Let the O
Mm-hmm.
line act like they're running the football. Let the defense play off of that, and then maybe
Mm-hmm.
Fields can roll out. And you got to watch out
Yep.
for the spies. Every team is putting a spy on field.
Oh my God, they sure are. Yeah, because they have to. Unlike Trubisky, where he wasn't a threat to run every single play. You can kind of take this
If I could
spy
say
off.
something about Mitch, and I hate to say this because I liked him, he was running a lot, and then he got popped. It was kind of a dirty hit against Minnesota with Harrison
Minnesota.
Smith.
Yep.
Harrison Smith, and he played scared the rest of the time he was there, didn't want to run.
Yep, and he went down weird because he extended his arms out as he was going down, and he got his shoulder popped from behind him. It was a weird injury for me watching.
It took his heart out. Like he didn't want to run
Mhm.
anymore.
All right, we got another question from Leo Factor. Oh, sorry, Kitty's back. You want to take that back over, Kitty? Leo Factor, how has Armin Watts been looking? Tonga was let go for Watts. Seems like a nose tackle to plug up the holes and clear up Roquan would be useful right now. We kind of talked about it earlier. I think we all agree Watts has been looking good, but they're missing that pig at the nose tackle position.
I think Watts, other than the Minnesota game, he was in early, but usually they don't bring him in until the second half. I think that's part of their theory of keeping freshmen fresh, always having somebody that can come in that's not winded. But I would like to see him be a starter and just be the guy that's, especially when you're giving up 8-9 yards a clip on the run, like have him play earlier in the game. But other than Minnesota, he really wasn't doing that. Then they had to take him out because, they're throwing every down. So.
Right.
Stopping the run has to be the first thing that they concentrate on that defense. And if Armon Watts is going to help with that, get him in there and let's see what he can do.
I agree. Question, Chips Ahoy boy. Question for Shorty. Chips Ahoy are the best chocolate chip cookie.
What do you think on this one, Shorty?
I think that the best chocolate chip cookies are the ones that my wife makes homemade.
Good answer. Good answer.
I was going to agree with. I will agree with you there because I make chocolate chip cookies myself. I sometimes give them out to customers, and That keeps them coming back for more.
That's an awesome random question. All right. Kenny Ray says, do you think any significant personnel changes will be made before the Pats game? I say they trot out the same line, kind of like we were talking about. I think they have to kind of, see what they have here before they do that. Go ahead, Cliff.
I think that anybody that's expecting us to win that game had better think twice, because Bill Belichick is going to be fantastic against our rookie team.
I meant to ask you this, Dan. When's the last time we beat the Patriots?
2000, they came to Chicago, and we beat them at the end of the year. That wasn't Brady. That was Drew Bledsoe. I think we had Shane Matthews playing, I believe. And then we had them in the next game would have been probably 06 when they came. Chicago went to New England. That's when Brady juked Urlacher out of his fucking jockstrap and made him look awful, and we lost that game close. Rex got picked at the end. Yeah. Then they came to Chicago in 2010 in the snow midway through the year, and the Bears were good in 2010, went to the championship game, and they blew us the fuck out like 37-3 or something. Then in 14, they beat us like 51-3. Lamar Houston's dancing and blows his knee out after a sack when you're down 50 points. Yes. And then in 18, they came to Soldier Field, and Kevin White caught a Hail Mary, and he's like a half a yard short, almost like Mooney the other night. Just a half yard short from completing a Hail Mary to fucking tie the game. But guess what? We lose again.
And that was the one that Trubisky had that nice long run in that game and for a touchdown, and they lost.
And it came down to that Kevin White throw. And like I said, he caught it, the best moment of his Bears career, but he was a half yard short of the end zone.
Mm-hmm. And we beat New England in 1985, 46.
Of course, twice in week 2 and the Super Bowl.
Oh, stop it! I finally have some old time stat. I'm gonna hit you with it. And you top me out anyways.
No, I agree with you. I was like, yeah, you're right. But here goes another one. In 88, McMahon's final game as a Bear, just in another revenge game, he goes to Sullivan Stadium in New England midway through the year, and Doug Flutie blows us out. That was the next day, I think, is when Ditka had the heart attack. He's like, I can't. How can we lose to Doug? But Flutie had a great game, and they blew us out. And McMahon hurt his knee, and he didn't play again until the Fog Bowl. Tom Zach played the rest of the way through, and Tom Zach started the Fog Bowl, but he got hurt, so they put Jim in, and then Jim started the NFC Championship game, which we would lose to San Francisco. But yeah, so even when the Bears are really good, we lost to New England and to Doug Flutie, whom, of course, was a former Bear.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we beat them, so thank you for that.
2000.
Now, what's the name of the new quarterback on New England?
I don't know. I've heard his name, but I haven't watched 1 second of him.
Mac Jones.
No. They got it. He's hurt.
Out.
They got a third stringer playing. To the point where Belichick said that it wasn't a guarantee that Mac Jones would get the job when he comes back.
I got to look this up.
Yeah, he's got some weird fucking name. It almost sounds like a joke. Like, oh, this is a guy from the CFL or something, right?
Right. Well, there's a joke with it though. Here's Zappy. So are we going to get Zappy this week?
I think so.
Oh, I saw that earlier in chat. Somebody said something about Zappy. I didn't put.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, chat. I didn't have to look it up. I could have just looked at the chat.
I have not watched. Yeah.
Wait. This kid's playing better than Mac Jones.
Yes.
And he comes out of nowhere.
Jesus Christ. Fuck us. Are we?
Where's our Zappy?
So I
this is the game we were. This is the same shit we've been talking about, Dan. So what is this kid gonna come out and have fucking passing against us? Is that what's gonna happen this week?
No. He's been playing. He's already been playing and playing well.
I can't fucking hear you. Jesus Christ.
I was saying Zappy's already been playing well, so he's not having his career game against his first start. He's already been doing well.
But he's gonna have his career game against us.
You're probably gonna cut me off the show right here, but I think I'm picking up the New England defense this week.
Oh, wow.
God damn. You know,
I have
I'm sorry, Joe Treviso. I'm sick of it. These no-name fucking quarterbacks come into Chicago, or in this case, we go to New England. And yes, thank you, Michael. Kaepernick comes in and fucking shames us. Even Russell Wilson's like first real game that he broke out was against the fucking Bears in Soldier Field.
Yep.
And you're telling me that I was worried about Mac fucking Jones, and now we're gonna have this so-and-so zappy guy come in and just zap us up? I can't handle this shit, guys.
You know who I'm worried about is Ramondre Stevenson. I'm not that worried about Zappy. I think Ramondre is going to run all over the Bears.
I just thought of something else. We're going back to Bears Patriots history. Rick Meyer started a game in New England in '97, and we lost by like 400 points. So I don't think we haven't been beating New England well since the Super Bowl. That's for sure.
It was like ever since that game, it was like, all right, you're fucked from now on out. You sold your soul to the devil. If you can win I'll tell you what. We'll give you this one game against the Patriots, but you'll never be able to win again.
And they will be the franchise forever.
Like, fuck it, we'll take a 46-10 win in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and from now on, they're going to be the America's dynasty, and you're never going to beat them again.
Yeah.
Yep. We said, okay, devil, give us that Super Bowl. Go ahead and stick in our ass whatever we got to do to take it. We'll take that trophy, and we'll never get another one again.
It's like what the Cubs did with trading all their fucking farm system to get Aroldis Chapman to as a backup.
I love Aroldis Chapman. I was the Reds fan, man. So that was our guy.
They traded their entire future for one guy that left the Cubs and went back to the fucking Yankees. Just to win.
He should have been
one
a Red
World
forever.
Series, and but the Cubs probably would have won fucking 4 World Series, you know, if they hadn't given up their entire. Oh, Kitty, you're getting involved in this, huh?
You're pissed me off with Chapman. Okay, yeah, he got us there, but then it was just a move play, like in chess, and then we got fucked. So don't talk about the Cubs with me. I will come in. And I will come in.
As a guy that loved the Reds, Aroldis was our guy, and it's just the Reds just didn't want to pay anybody. And for years, I don't want to bore us everybody at the Reds, but for years it was like, oh, we're getting a new stadium, we're going to be competitive when we get. I hope the Bears don't start this shit. We're getting a new stadium, so it'll be good in 3 or 4 years. Oh, but wait a minute, we got Ken Griffey Jr. It doesn't matter if we suck because we got Junior, so come watch him play. And then it was like we finally got a nucleus of young players. Got them together. They got good. Dusty Baker's winning 96 games with them. They're like, well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and trade Chapman. We'll trade Johnny Cueto. We'll trade Edison Volquez. Every guy that was good won a World Series somewhere else. And that still hurts my fucking heart. But
that's
anyway.
what the Cubs did. The Cubs traded their entire farm system away to win a World Series. They probably could have won 2. All
but
right.
if you're the Cubs... All right, let me respond to this from a pro Cubs perspective. I mean, you're talking, and I'm afraid I'm going to be like this with the Bears. You're talking generations of people's grandfathers going to graves and crying when they had a chance to win a championship. I'm afraid I'm going to be the guy. They're like, oh, he was known as the Bears guy. And, you know, this is for him 40 years after he died. If I'm a Cubs fan to end 108 years, fuck it. So be it, man.
I get it, but it doesn't mean I can't be bitter about it. I can't be bitter.
But wasn't Aroldis didn't Aroldis close out the game against the Indians?
Okay, but
Game 7?
He also was pissy. He was a pissy, poor, pouty little fucking shithead. Like, he was just pouty.
But didn't he close out the championship? I'm not saying this rhetorically because I don't remember.
No. They put him in to close it out, but then he couldn't finish it, so they had to put in Lester again.
Yeah.
And then they started the actual final pitcher to end the game was, I think, Peterson or something like that. It wasn't Chapman, but
okay, all right.
He could only pitch so many balls until he was like,
why are we talking about the Cubs right now? I was just making a reference.
I got it. I'm out.
I appreciate her passion.
As a White Sox fan, I'll say you only have to wait another 100 years.
Cliff, I say this with the most respect. fucking hate the White Sox.
Kitty, I
Sorry.
think that you and I are the only two Cubs fans on the Barroom Network. So I think we should probably just shut up right now about the Cubs.
Isn't Aldo a Cubs fan?
I don't know. Is he?
I think Aldo likes both.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think he likes both.
Don't even Kitty started on that then. Kitty, get out of here.
Yeah, I will go on forever. By the way.
I don't like the American League, so.
For those of you who got here late, welcome to Cubs podcast.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was trying to make the reference to like trading everything away to, for one championship. Would it have been worth it for if the Bears said if they sold their soul to win the fucking 85 championship, that they would never win another game again against the fucking Patriots?
No, screw
is
that.
my point to this.
Yes, and it's
I asked Aldo.
Point.
I asked Aldo this on air, and within this summer, sometime, what he thought if like before the Super Bowl, if it was like, hey man, you're never going to beat this team, and they're going to become a dynasty, or you could be the dynasty later. What about today? Which one would you take? He said, "Fuck it, give me Super Bowl 20."
Yeah, that's what it. That's kind of seems like what it was, like with the Cubs too. They sold their soul to get Chapman, and that they won the one championship, and he went back to the Yankees, and that was it.
To bring this full circle for people that are telling us like, don't worry about this season, it's over, and just relax. It's a part of the process and building. And come on, Dan, you had like Aldo told me my expectations were too high, stuff like that. For me, maybe I could just be like, oh, okay. Had they won Super Bowl 41.
Yeah.
For years I was okay with the Reds. I mean, just being awful because of the World Series in 90. I was like, I already got my championship. Like, I hope to see another one, but like I love the team and blah, blah, blah. I'm loyal.
Mm-hmm.
So
Dan, this year is already a success because Nagy is no longer here.
I agree with that. But if the Bears had just won in Miami against the Colts, then I could relax. I feel like I don't know how many more years I have left, guys. I'm not trying to be funny or dramatic.
I'm sorry, guys, but the word is the word has been said.
I'm not even going to get into that. I have zero thought.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be one of these Cubs fans that like their whole life is defined by winning the World Series and then they die. Like,
I know. If they would have won,
that's going to be me with the
If they would have won in 2006, then nobody would be fucking talking about the 85 Bears anymore. We'd be talking about the 2006 Bears. How do we get back to there?
Or at the very least, I would feel like it's okay or something if they're losing, because that one would have like satiated my desires or something. Like I would feel like it. I always feel like it's a sense of urgency. Like, dude, I could die.
Right.
For real. We need to win because I might not be here next season. I'm not trying to be funny.
But I remember when the Bears drafted Fields, and I thought, like, if I was going down with a heart attack, the last thing in my brain would be like, oh, fuck, I'm not going to see Fields win a Super Bowl for the Bears. Like, I feel like that would be the last thing going through my brain if I was just dying if I was in a car accident. Like, I'm seeing the car come head on me. There's a drunk driver coming at me head on in my lane. The last thing I'd be thinking is, fuck, I'm not going to get to see the Bears win a Super Bowl.
And the thing, you remember how everyone like booed Mitch when he got drafted, and like even when he went to the United Center at a Bulls game, he got booed, and it felt like even from the jump it was the wrong pick. Everyone thought it was the wrong pick, but everyone was so happy when Fields got drafted. Even the guy announcing the pick was like, our Chicago Bears have drafted Justin Fields, and like Fields is cheered universally. It just felt like it's the right pick. This is finally our guy. We've gone through all this shit to get here, and now we've got our guy. And of course, we can't protect him, and everyone says he's a bust. And
we can't. We can't even get through a 16-game season of him starting, and that's the narrative, Dan.
Yeah, and it's just like even Trubisky. I remember the Bears were doing. It's 2018. He's winning, and Mike Lombardi's like, I went to Chicago and saw them win against whoever. I forget what week it was. He goes, but all these Mitchell Trubisky jerseys, they're going to be on the clearance rack in 2 years.
Aaron,
he's saying that when Nick is winning. Sorry, Cliff. Cliff's like, I'm trying to end this podcast, and you won't let me.
He's like, I have to piss. No, did you buy a Trubisky jersey, Dan?
Yes, I had the blue one, the white one, the orange one, and the 40s throwback one.
You said you had. Did you get rid of them?
No, I've got them. I just meant I don't wear them now.
Yeah, I bought the Trubisky one, the blue one.
I've got Fields in blue, orange, and white. I didn't buy that 36 jersey, and they don't wear the 40s ones anymore. So,
yeah, I like that. The blocky numbered one, is that the 40s one?
The one in my picture there with Cutler and the Cutler jersey.
Oh yeah, I like that one. What did you think of the orange on orange this past week?
I think it would have looked better if they had the orange helmet or the blue helmet still with the orange jersey. But if they're going to go orange on orange, maybe still have the blue socks instead of the orange ones.
What is that?
That's my dog. I was looking for a picture for J2K.
Oh, you have a German Shepherd, huh?
Yes, he's resting now. He's like, what are you doing? Leave me alone.
Where's my dog? You know what? You make me want my dog now. What were you just saying, Dan, though?
I was saying that I thought the orange jersey with the orange helmet would look better if they still had the primarily blue and orange socks, but primarily blue socks.
Yeah.
Instead of the orange socks, it was a little bit too much orange, is what I'm saying. Right.
What did you think of the orange on orange, Dan, or Cliff?
I liked them. You know, I mean, I thought it was very orange, but I'm like, at least you could see them. You could see who you're throwing to.
I remember the first thing that went through my head when I was watching Fields do the warm-ups was I was thinking, man, if I was the quarterback, I'd almost be having a seizure trying to find my wide receivers out there. You know, with that just bright orange everywhere. It just seemed to be too much to me.
Well, even when the Broncos primarily were orange back in the day, I think they've gone back to an orange jersey at home now as their primary. But during the early Elway days, they still had the blue helmet, you know, with the orange jersey and the orange socks. So it's like there was a look. It wasn't all orange, is what I'm saying.
Right.
It still had the blue Denver, the powder blue D helmet.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we have a couple more questions here in chat. I think we have to get through here. Sure. Yes, more questions, Kitty. Let's pull them up. How many tackles is Morrow average? Oh, God, I don't even know.
I have no clue. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Not as many as Roquan.
I'd say 7 if I had to guess.
No clue.
Yeah, no clue. What's the next
Final
question?
Jeopardy. I just shit the bed.
Totally. If Poles wants to lock Joe Treviso, if Poles wants to lock up Mooney, what should his contract be? Ooh.
I'm staying away from locking up Mooney. That's my opinion.
Wide receivers are making a lot of money right now. You know, not the best time to try to lock one up.
Yeah, I don't.
Go ahead.
No, I don't have an answer to that question either. That's a tough question to answer right now. After 6 games and 200 yards receiving from the kid.
I'd rather see how the rest of the season plays out.
Yeah.
Before I would think about re-signing him, and because he's got one more year on the deal. So I would wait till the end of this 3rd season of his before I would decide what we're doing with him.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would too. Next question, Kitty. Did Poles do enough this offseason? Why or why not?
You already know my answer. I'm going to say no because of the line.
Yep.
I think
Cliff?
I think that fixing the salary cap was big. I think that getting a lot of prospects was big. As Dan says, I was hoping that the offensive line would be a little bit better than it is so far. But I think he's done more than most rookie GMs probably would have done. So I will give him one more year.
I'm going to piggyback off of what you just said. I agree that I think that he was strapped and he took 5 picks into 11, and he did his best to put as much on the field to try to see what they have with it. It just takes time to see what you have, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's a hard game, man. We're all sitting here on our chairs talking about what it's like to play in the NFL, and it's none of us have any clue. So
it's hard.
Yeah, fucking A, it's hard. I can't even imagine.
I'm actually soft right now. Sorry. I had to throw one dick joke in. Just one.
What's the next question, Kitty? Leo Factor, my second question. If Poles did something dumb like trade Fields this offseason, how pissed would you be?
I'd be really pissed, but going back to my youth, there was a time after Jim McMahon got traded to San Diego that I thought I was going to become a Chargers fan. And my dad set me down and basically said some shit to me like loyalty is important and you're a Bears fan, so stick with it. So if I could stick with the Bears at age 8 when Jim McMahon's traded to San Diego, I'll stick with the Bears even if they trade Fields, but I will not like it if they do it.
If they traded Fields for Josh Allen or somebody of that level, okay, you can do that. But who are they going to get to replace Fields if they trade him?
Just a draft pick, and I think that's terrible.
Or multiple, but you're not sure to land a top pick in the next year in the next draft either. 2 years from now. So, my question is, if they did something dumb like that, I would be pissed. I would be very pissed because I don't see a quarterback better in this draft coming up, and the kid just he would be in his second year of development in this offense going into next year, and really that's what you need to know. Or that's when you find out what you have in Justin Fields is in this second year in this offense. You can't judge him.
Yeah, sorry. Justin Fields is a 2-year rebuild. If you move on to somebody else, you're in a 5-year rebuild. I'm getting old. I don't want to wait that long.
I agree.
100%. You just took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you. Stephen Me. Wait, go back to the last one.
He said he's never played in the NFL, but Tecmo Bowl counts, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So what's the next one, Kitty? That was an actual question. J2K, who do you think is the best shade nose tackle 4-3 defensive line is? Wait, who do you think is the best shade nose tackle 4-3 defensive line is the best in this draft? Outside of Carter, the next best 3-tech is an early second rounder at best. So who do you draft? I saw you pull that up earlier in the chat, J2K, about basically Carter being the best 3-tech. So if you're not in that spot to pick him, what do you do? I would say in that moment, if you're like, let's say top 10 and you can't get Carter, you can't get that 4-3, 3-tech that you need, you trade down. You get more picks. And that's what I want to see out of. We've been seeing all this trading up by pace. If Poles is sitting there and he can't get his guy and he's in a top 10 pick, trade down and get more picks. They're only going to help.
There's several different areas that the Bears need to draft players for. So if your 3-tech isn't there, if one of the other positions is there, top wide receiver, top offensive lineman, okay, go for them. But otherwise, I agree 100% on the trade down strategy because with quantity, especially if, say you move down a little bit in the first round, you get another first round pick and you get a second or a third or something like that, that you've got a much more of a chance. I mean, Tooch knows odds. So, Tooch knows if you're throwing more darts at a board, you're probably going to find one that hits.
And that's what they did this year. We're already seeing it. Like, had they not made those trades from the Mac trade, had they not traded Mac and then used that pick to get the pick from next year back into this year's draft, I mean, we wouldn't even be talking about Braxton Jones right now. Who would be talking about it as our left tackle? Here we are bitching about a rookie left tackle, which wouldn't have been on the team if it wasn't for that. We'd be bitching about who? Somebody worse, probably. So, Yeah.
Hey, let me interject. I'm sorry. I'm fucking dying. I've drunk 4 waters since we started, so I got to pee again.
Are you peeing now or are you interjecting by talking? He's peeing. Okay.
He's
So-
peeing and interjecting.
No, so if you don't wheel and deal like that and pick up all those extra picks like you did, right, Cliff? We're not
Mhm.
talking about a Braxton Jones in this draft.
I
We're not
agree
talking
one-
about fucking Jaquan Brisker. So
Yeah, Kyler Gordon. I mean, all the players, Velus Jones.
mhm.
Yeah, we're not talking about the Bears being the team that they are now and having the potential, because these guys are all rookies. What are they going to look like in year 2, year 3, year 4?
Mhm.
So let's see how they all look and do it again in this next draft. I fully expect Poles to do similar things in this draft.
Yeah, for every rookie that busts out on the scene in his rookie year, there's 2 or 3 that bust out on the scene in year 2 or year 3. It doesn't happen all that often that you see some first round, draft pick just blowing up the fucking league. It doesn't happen all that
Yeah,
often.
Jamar Chase.
Right.
You don't see it happen often.
Right. Even what's his name from the Cowboys? I mean, that kid's a generational talent, the linebacker.
Oh, a number 11.
Oh yeah. That kid is a
Well,
fucking
Vander Esch on the Cowboys.
No, the other guy, the kid that was in the draft with Fields. Jeez, I can't remember what. Drawing a blank right now. It's late, but that kid on the Cowboys, everyone knows Parsons. Thank you, Micah Parsons. That kid's a fucking stud. So I mean, but if you go back and look at traditionally at first round draft picks, there's not many great ones in the first round. Really, thank you, Tooch, Micah Parsons. Really, it's the second round, the second and even the third round where you start to see all those value draft picks. You start to see a lot of the better players come from the second round, really, more so than the first. Count up the Hall of Famers from the first round. Comparatively speaking,
if you're a top 10 pick, I mean, there's a reasonable chance that you're going to be okay in the NFL. But the rest of the first round, I agree, you're just as well off trading down and getting a second and something else. The lower first and whatever else you can get.
Yeah, so if they can't get their 3 technique there in the first, 10 picks, if that's where they're at, I say trade the pick, trade down. In fact, I'm a proponent for doing that. Do that a couple times in this draft. Get as many picks as you can in this next draft. If you can draft well, which they've proven so far that at least we think that they can, if you can add another 5 more picks to this next draft and you're starting off with 7, you can get 12 or 13 picks out of that. If you're doing it well, it's going to help your team, and you're just going to add to the odds.
Sure. Yep. And odds is the key word there. And there was a comment on free agents for 3 techs, and we're just going to have to see because, I mean, teams don't like to let them go. So we'll have to see who's available at the end of the year. And then the Bears are going to have both the money and the picks so they can decide which way they want to proceed.
It looks like we have one last question here, and then we'll wrap this up. Kitty, what's the last question? J2K, who do you start? Schofield, Dieter, or Carter? I guess we're talking about left
Left guard.
right left guard. Yeah.
We can only be so lucky.
For me, I say Carter. I want to see what the kid has. I want to know what that rookie has at left guard. I'm done looking at Patrick out there just turning himself into a turnstile. I want to see what we have there at left guard with Carter, Ja'Kyrie Carter.
Yeah, let's see what the young kid can do. I mean, Schofield, they know what they have with that. They brought him onto the team, and then now he's on the bench. So there was a reason for that. So sure, let's see what Carter can do.
Yeah, what if they would start anyone else at left guard and have Mustafa remaining at center, though? That's like, oh, God, what if Patrick's the one who's benched? That would be terrible.
Mustafa needs to get out of that position. I mean, you cannot have You can't have defenders coming straight at the quarterback every other play. You cannot
Right.
do that.
And multiple times he's let not only one, but two people through.
Mhm.
Two people.
Yeah, I know. A turnstile.
Well, he
spins around and around and around and lets two guys in.
he accidentally took out his own player, allowing two people in.
Looks like the Broncos and Chargers are about to tie.
Oh, no kidding. I was checking my fantasy, but I am.
Oh, no,
ahead.
it's overtime. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's they're about to go to overtime. I thought they were already in OT. They're going to OT. That's my bad.
Well, if we close the show out, I will check that.
Yeah, I'd like to see the end of that. That was a good game last night, too. Seeing the end of that one.
Yep.
I haven't watched 1 second of football since Thursday. I've been so upset over the Bear game. I didn't watch the Jets beat Green Bay. I didn't watch anything.
I haven't watched 1 second of football outside of the Bears, to be honest with you.
My internet came back Saturday. I woke up Sunday. I flip on actually, I said, hello, Alexa, because that's been my way of testing the internet. I say, hello. I say, Alexa, hello. And she flashes red, and I'm like, no, no football. But it came back eventually.
That's hilarious. Well, guys, I want to thank you very much for this awesome Monday night. You guys have been excellent. Cliff, it's great to have you back with your Cliff Notes and just having you part of the show. Yeah, we're glad everything's okay with you there back home. And Dan, once again, thank you for joining us on the show. I mean, you're just such a knowledge of information.
It's my pleasure, but keep in mind, I think I'm going to be home next Monday, where the Bears will play on Monday night, so I don't think I'm going to work and watch the game in my living room. So with that said, maybe I could do a segment with you all or something on my phone, but I won't have access to all my professional equipment at the house.
No, that's fine. We'll have to figure out how we're going to do that next week. Probably start like an hour early or something.
Start earlier and finish the show up right when the Bears game's going to start, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, it's probably what we'll do. So look out for us next Monday night on the Barroom Network. And don't forget, guys, Bears Country Podcast, we also have our own channel, so make sure that you hop over there and subscribe to our channel for the content that we have there. We do our live Monday night on the Barroom Network because the Barroom Network is awesome, and we love you guys, and we are just so happy to be associated with you and working together. And just thank you, Aldo and Tooch and everyone again. So, Dan, thank you so much. Cliff, thanks
my
for
pleasure.
My pleasure as well. Thank you for your Cliff Notes and hanging out with us. Great to have you back. We will see. Oh.
And you too, Shorty, for keeping this channel going and building it. Thanks to you for that. Oh, Wednesday night, last call at Hellas Hall.
Yeah, that's what I say. Tomorrow night, we're going to do. So we're not doing last call at Hellas Hall on Mondays anymore on the Bears Country Podcast channel. We're going to move that over. We haven't quite figured out what day yet, but we're gonna move it from tonight to Wednesday night, where we're going to be interviewing a man named Vernon Roseman, who worked for the Chicago Bears and got me a job working for them, where we both worked in the press box, running off stats for the sports journalists. And we're going to have like kind of a different reminiscing show tomorrow. I should say Wednesday night on Bears Country Podcast at, I believe, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So check us out there for that show, because that should be pretty interesting, because it was really fun working for the Bears. We're going to kind of dive into that, the training camps that we stayed at, and staying in the dorm room with the Bears and eating our meals with them, and being in the press box for every game, and going onto the field and going into the locker room and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be kind of like a like a bye week, if you will, kind of a Wednesday subject that's just not talking about constant Bears losses. So we appreciate you guys. Let's check us out over there on Bears Country Podcast on Wednesday as well. And make sure you subscribe to the Barroom Network as well as Bears Country Podcast. We love you all. Thank you all so much in chat for joining us tonight. And until next time, 1, 2, 3, Bears!